The story kicks off in a pet shop, where a pink-haired girl is throwing a total fit, thinking that charging $3 million for a pet is a complete and utter scam. Super annoyed, she points out that a regular old slime barely costs $3,000, and asks if the shopkeeper even knows the first thing about taming beasts. Lu Yu, our MC, stays cool as a cucumber and quickly fires back that this is definitely not your average little pet. Holding the bouncy slime in his hands, he assures her that $3 million is actually a steal, and that she'll walk away super happy with her new buddy. Annoyed, the girl argues that the little guy is only at the awakening level, claiming that kind of cash could easily buy her a star-level beast. Hearing this, our guy immediately nods in agreement. But then, he confidently lets her know that his slime is actually 1 billion times stronger than those basic star-level creatures. Showing off a hologram of the pet's evolution, he explains that it's a mutant beast with a Devar skill, meaning it can break through its limits infinitely, and reach Monarch class. Still skeptical, the buyer asks why on earth she should believe a wild story like that without any solid proof. Totally unfazed, Lu Yu suggests that she can find out the truth for herself by running a quick test. Out of nowhere, a blonde woman in high heels struts into the shop, mocking our MC and asking if the young master of the Lu family has resorted to running cheap scams to survive. With a totally smug attitude, she gives a sarcastic apology, making sure to rub in the fact that he was already kicked out of the family. With a serious look on his face, the shop owner recognizes Bai Yue and asks what she's even doing there. His ex-girlfriend snarkily fires back that she just came to check on the guy who doesn't even have a single drop of beast taming talent. Shocked by what she's hearing, the pink-haired customer realizes he's actually running a pet shop without having any taming talent at all. Turning back to the customer, our guy assures her that his lack of personal talent doesn't get in the way of selling high-quality beasts. Bai Yue keeps up the drama, hinting that a useless nobody like him, after being cast aside, should just settle for a boring, ordinary life. Watching this play out, the pink-haired girl is totally disgusted and mutters that the blonde chick acts exactly like one of those incredibly annoying anime villains. Lu Yu advises his customer not to lower herself to the level of people who are just naturally bitter and toxic. Mad because she's being ignored, the blonde points her finger and accuses him of fraud, but the pink-haired customer replies that she'll only know the truth after testing the little guy. Right then and there, the customer tosses some silver-grade pet food to the little monster on the counter. Within a few seconds, the creature devours all the food, giving off a blinding glow. The slime starts radiating an intense light as several blue arrows pop up, signaling its level continuously rising. Holding the glowing pet, the buyer is shocked to see that its potential just jumped from rank 5 to rank 9, and it even gained water-based powers. Watching this go down, the ex-girlfriend's jaw drops as she mutters that this should be absolutely impossible. Super happy with how things turned out, the pink-haired girl celebrates the fact that she didn't listen to the blonde's trash talk. All excited, she tells the shopkeeper she brought her own pet food to avoid any extra fees, and asks if she should pay the $3 million in cash or by card. Wearing a satisfied smile, she quickly hands over her bank card to wrap up the transaction. Right at that moment, an AI holographic screen congratulates Lu Yu on the sale, unlocking his tamer space and a god-tier SSS-Rank talent. The system explains that dark element creatures will receive boosted attributes, gain extra potential, and can use Soul Bond to grow way faster. Surrounded by an intense red light, our MC clenches his fists, celebrating the fact that he finally got a taming talent back after all these years. His memories flash back to 12 years ago, showing the massive, isolated mansion of the Lu family in the middle of the night. Lying flat on the floor of a pitch-black room, young Lu Yu looks up in terror at his aunt, asking what on earth she's about to do. Lu Yazi, married to the current family head, acts completely hostile and sarcastically asks if it isn't obvious what's about to happen. Showing a sinister smile, she admits she only raised a useless orphan like him because of his S-rank dragon-type talent. The woman keeps looking down on him with absolute superiority, making it clear that all that motherly love was just a massive lie. Violently grabbing the boy's head, she asks if he was really dumb enough to believe his parents passed away in a mere accident. With her face twisted by sheer greed, she declares that his talent will serve as the stepping stone for her own son to take over the family, and that he should be honored to be the sacrifice. Unable to fight back, the boy lets out an agonizing scream as his life energy and talent are forcefully ripped away. Completely drained, the boy collapses onto the cold floor, utterly ruined, and without any strength left to fight. Turning her back on her nephew, the woman coldly states that without his talent, he can spend the rest of his days living as a complete and utter loser. Snapping back to the present, our shopkeeper thinks to himself among the shelves that he really used to believe he'd spend eternity as a nobody running the shop. But then, he remembers how his life turned around when he hit 18 and managed to activate the legendary pet system. Surrounded by holographic images of beasts, he explains that all he has to do is sell the pets raised by the system to gain talents, resources, and all kinds of sweet bonuses. looking at the freshly updated display cases in his shop. He figures that hitting these sales goals is the easiest job in the world for someone already in the business. With his eyes burning with anger, our guy promises to pay back tenfold all the torment and humiliation he suffered at the hands of the Liu family. Interrupting his train of thought, his ex-girlfriend tries to persuade the other customer not to fall for the shop's cheap tricks. Sick of the drama, the shopkeeper looks straight at the girl and warns her that he's tolerated her annoying attitude for way too long. Sensing the tension in the air, the blonde takes a step back in fear, threatening to call the authorities if he dares to touch her. With a look of absolute disgust, he simply tells the intruder to get out of his shop right this instant. Annoyed, she refuses to leave and dares him to show off a new mutant pet, swearing she'll buy it if he actually manages to produce one. Right at that second, the AI chimes in, letting him know there's only one sale left this week to lock in a god SSS-Rank reward, advising him not to sleep on this opportunity. Gathering a blue ball of energy in his hand, he decides to take the bait just to grab that sweet system bonus. The screen shows the majestic shadow of a dark monster wearing a cape and a crown, named the Mutant Skeleton Emperor. But what actually pops up on the counter is a tiny, harmless-looking little skeleton wearing red boots, just standing there looking completely lost. Feeling insulted, Bai Yue yells that she has a B-rank taming talent and won't be fooled by some trashy joke like that. Holding the tiny creature by its skull, Lu Yu calmly states that this little guy is indeed the real deal, the Skeleton Emperor. The girl crosses her arms and scoffs, saying the thing is nothing but the lowest grade necromancer summon imaginable, with zero royal vibes. Smiling with sarcasm, our MC assures her that this little guy's talent completely breaks the laws of physics. Projecting a massive, flaming skull behind him, he reveals that the skeleton can evolve endlessly by taking down opponents. The blonde points at him, telling him to stop talking nonsense, since she has never once heard of a monster with unlimited evolution. Annoyed by the drama, Miss Shen speaks up for the shop, calling the woman crazy for demanding a product, and then refusing to believe it when it's shown to her. Keeping it professional, our guy tells his customer to just ignore the haters, commenting that not everyone has the brainpower to recognize high-quality goods. Pulling out her phone, Bai Yue decides that the other girl must be a paid actor hired for this scam, threatening to call a real expert to expose the lie. She immediately calls manager Yang, telling him to get over to the pet shop near the school's west gate as fast as possible. Shortly after, a massive truck pulls up right in front of our MC's humble little shop. A guy wearing a suit and a lab coat walks in holding a glass container, thinking to himself how ridiculous the story about a rank 9 resource devouring slime sounds. Miss Shen is still holding the little blue monster in her arms, which is now clearly displaying a status screen that is insanely high for its level. The moment the ex-girlfriend sees the visitor walk in, she waves enthusiastically to grab the expert's attention. Introducing himself as Yang Qing, the newcomer apologizes for the delay and presents the beast the blonde had ordered. However, the girl rejects the beast on the spot, calling him over to investigate the shady business on Lu Yu's counter. Showing off the little fire reptile in the glass container as proof of her superiority, she mocks the tiny skeleton trapped in a jar. Focusing his gaze on the tiny creature, the appraiser immediately notices a very bizarre energy radiating from it. Wanting to check the facts, the manager activates his scanning skill, causing his glasses to glow as various codes scroll by. The scan brings up a holographic screen showing that the skeleton has a rare talent for infinite evolution based on taking down enemies. Blown away by the discovery, Yang Qing turns around and asks if the skeleton is up for grabs, showing he's ready to pay whatever it takes. Bai Yue is left completely baffled, asking why on earth a top-tier tamer would spend 3 million on awakening-level trash. Tapping his glasses, the appraiser declares that he trusts his scanning skill, and that the beast has the power to grow without limits. Hearing this confirmation, the ex-girlfriend is left absolutely shell-shocked. Right then, Shen Nianian takes the chance to tell her to shut her mouth, pointing out that the handsome manager would never make up a lie about something like this. Keeping a serious face, Yang Qing adds that he just checked, and the girl's slime also has the exact same terrifying ability. Because of this, it wouldn't take long at all for this little creature to completely destroy any tamer of a similar level. Desperate for the chance, the guy in the suit begs Lu Yu to sell him the skeleton for those same 3 million, sweating bullets. He thinks to himself that this price is basically like giving away a mutant beast for free. Our MC just flashes a satisfied grin and thanks him for his business, calmly wrapping up the transaction. Feeling totally cheated, the blonde points her finger and blames our guy for planning the whole thing just to avoid selling her a monster. Keeping her usual snobby tone, she demands that he show her another mutant pet right now. Having zero patience left, Lu Yu shuts down the conversation, saying he has absolutely nothing left in stock, especially for someone like her. Boiling with rage, she insults him, calling him a talentless loser, and asks where he gets off being so arrogant after getting kicked out of his family. The room's atmosphere instantly turns heavy, and our MC coldly declares that he has actually gone through his second awakening. Feeling the suffocating aura in the shop, Yang Qing starts panicking, figuring out that the shopkeeper must have at least an S-class talent. Knowing that a max-level talent would draw too much unwanted attention, our guy decides not to correct the appraiser's deduction. Completely speechless at the revelation, the ex-girlfriend collapses to the floor, unable to process how this could even be possible. Looking down at her, Lu Yu calmly states that there are no limits in the world of beast tamers. Quickly switching up her attitude, she tries to take advantage of his new situation. Without showing a single drop of shame, she proposes giving him another chance to win her back. Our MC completely ignores the ridiculous offer and simply orders the intruder to get out of his shop. Embarrassed, the blonde calls her ex cruel and storms out, promising revenge. With the drama finally over, the shop owner apologizes to his actual customers and announces that the shop is closing up. Before leaving, Shen Nianian excitedly holds up her phone, asking for the handsome manager's contact info. Not wanting to be left out, the guy in the suit also asks to swap contacts. Assessing the situation, our MC realizes that this new college student could bring in a ton of future buyers. Likewise, keeping in touch with someone important in the same industry could lead to some excellent business partnerships. He quickly concludes that with these two contacts, he'll never have to stress about missing the system's sales missions again. Super happy with his haul for the day, he holds out his device so they can both scan his code. After the workday ends, the metal shutters of the pet shop finally slide closed. Our hero stretches with a sigh of relief as the AI pops up, congratulating him on wrapping up the beginner quest. Excited to see his prize, he commands the assistant to open the reward screen as fast as possible. However, checking the options displayed on the holographic screen, our guy questions why there are so few beasts listed. Realizing those were only the free monsters, he quickly demands to see the premium catalog to find some actual high-tier options. Swiping through the virtual panels, he rejects several creatures in a row, finding them either too ugly or not a good fit for his talent. Trying to help, the system highlights 3 terrifying dark element monsters on the screen. It recommends a demonic hound focused on pure offense, but our guy rejects it instantly, claiming he has childhood trauma with dogs. Next, the AI expands the search and displays the hologram of a tiny black dragon. Instantly recognizing the species, Lu Yu's eyes light up with curiosity. Without a second thought, he spends 600 points and confirms the purchase of the world, destroying Demon Dragon. A massive, terrifying monster appears in the room, making our MC wonder if this thing is actually supposed to be a baby. The assistant casually explains that dragon-type creatures are naturally born colossal. Scanning the floating status screen, the shopkeeper is thrilled to see that the creature's base potential is at the Overlord rank. This means the monster starts off at an incredibly high tier on the magical beast power scale. Super hyped, he reflects that even the strongest tamers in the country have Overlord rank beasts, and his starting pet is already reaching that level. Noticing his excitement, the holographic girl asks if he's happy with his pick. Clenching his hands with determination, Lu Yu declares it's the perfect choice and decides to start the soul pact right then and there. An intricate magic circle appears in the air as the spiritual link between the tamer and the massive dragon becomes official. The screen confirms the connection is a success and lets our hero know he can now apply his exclusive talent to the beast. Instantly, our guy raises his hand, channeling a massive wave of dark energy straight into his new partner. The massive reptile absorbs the raw energy, roaring fiercely as dark flames wrap around its body. Moments later, the system triggers a notification, congratulating the tamer on evolving the creature to the 10th level of awakening. Despite the fast evolution, he immediately asks why the monster stopped growing and failed to break through to the next rank. The assistant explains that his current mental capacity can't handle such a high level of power, forcing him to boost his own energy first. Understanding the limitation, Lu Yu asks the system to shrink the massive dragon that is currently taking up almost the entire shop. Swapping to a tiny, harmless form, the pet bounces around the room, while its master notes how this look is way more convenient. Somewhere far away, inside a university dorm room, Shen Nianian walks in jumping for joy, calling her roommate over to show off her new pet. The blue-haired girl panics the second she sees the jelly-like monster, telling her to hide the thing quick to avoid getting into trouble. But the warning comes way too late, as their annoying blonde roommate is already barging into the dorm with her friends. Acting totally bossy, the visitor calls out the pink-haired freshman on her promise to never bring ornamental pets into the room. The blue-haired roommate tries to jump in, claiming it wasn't on purpose, but she gets completely ignored. Squeezing the slime tightly, Shen Nianian stands her ground, insisting her little monster doesn't break a single dorm rule. Smugly showing off her level 10 metal wolf, the blonde mocks the girl, asking if she really plans to contract such a useless creature. The intruder's friends join in on the teasing, asking why a girl with an A-rank talent would do something so incredibly foolish. Ignoring the laughter, the freshman fiercely defends her little blue pet, claiming it's a mutant beast that can consume resources to grow. Her rival rolls her eyes, treating the explanation like a joke and claiming a beast like that could never get past level 3. Keeping her cool, Shen Nianian reveals that she has already completed the soul bond, and the little guy is already at awakening level 9. Super worried by the scene, her blue-haired friend puts a hand on her shoulder, believing the newbie got scammed by some shady salesman. Sick of being looked down on, she places the little creature on the desk, determined to shut everyone up. Staring down the snobby blonde, the slime's owner asks how much money she spent on resources to power up that metal hound. Full of arrogance, the girl summons her aggressive beast, bragging that her high-tier pet is worth every single penny. Completely unfazed, Shen Nianian conjures a hovering pile of blue crystals that cost just as much. Within seconds, the tiny, hungry jelly creature starts devouring every single one of the pricey stones. While the other students watch the meal in utter disbelief, the blonde girl crosses her arms in disdain, claiming anyone can throw away money. The little blue monster starts spinning wildly inside a water vortex as it digests all that energy. The brightness intensifies, and the creature quickly jumps to level 10 of the awakening category. Amazed by the rapid upgrade, the blue-haired friend whispers in awe that the slime actually hit level 10. The antagonist's eyes go wide in absolute shock, unable to believe what she just witnessed. With total confidence, Shen Nianian warns them that the evolution isn't even over yet, telling the girls to keep watching. A burst of intense energy flows from the little monster, and its potential is suddenly boosted to the starry sky tier. In denial, the blonde points her finger, declaring it's impossible for a common slime to reach that level of potential. Totally rattled, she challenges the freshmen to a battle outside the dorms. Once outside, the upperclassman points forward and orders her metal wolf to show its full power. The steel beast lets out a chilling howl as red energy coats its body. Instantly, the monster leaps forward fiercely, claws ready to tear the tiny blue target apart. Right then, the slime counterattacks, blasting a massive torrent of water that hits the enemy dead on with a transcendent grade strike. Watching her beast get crushed, the girl freezes up, asking herself how this could even be possible. She falls to her knees, completely devastated as she realizes her beloved metal wolf has actually been defeated in the clash. Looking down at the upperclassman on the ground, Shen Nianian points out that this is the exact mutant pet she was laughing at earlier. Showing some empathy, the slime's owner says she won't hold any grudges for the sake of dorm peace. Right after, her blue-haired friend runs after her desperately, begging to know where on earth she bought that amazing little monster. The drama settles down as a bright morning rises over the busy city. Walking down the sidewalk, a red-haired guy notices the shop, thinking it's interesting to see a new pet business in this area. Stepping inside, he immediately spots a tiny sleeping dragon and figures it's the perfect gift for his little sister. Decisive, the buyer points at the beast and asks the shop owner how much for the little guy. The shopkeeper turns down the offer, explaining that the beast is his official partner, but the guy pushes back, claiming money is no object. Keeping his calm attitude, Lu Yu apologizes and stresses again that the animal is absolutely not for sale under any circumstances. Annoyed by the rejection, the redhead raises his voice and makes a threat, saying being stubborn will only bring trouble for the shop owner. Losing his patience, he summons a dark bird and commands his pet to teach the manager a harsh lesson. Watching the childish behavior, our MC doesn't even flinch, calling the rude buyer a complete idiot. Sensing danger, the tiny dragon snaps awake, breathing out a menacing red light around itself. The terrifying aura hits the bird dead on, causing it to panic and fall out of the sky instantly. Due to the spiritual link with his defeated pet, the red-haired guy takes a heavy mental hit and coughs up blood. Completely terrified, the intruder backs away in disbelief, realizing his bird was taken down by a single glance from the baby dragon. Once outside the shop, he tries to catch his breath, thinking about the massive aura of that hell dragon. He quickly figures that not even the powerful Lu family has a beast of that caliber, choosing to get out of there as fast as he can. Back at his desk, our shopkeeper watches the coward run away and leans on the counter calmly. Looking pretty bored, he sighs that the entertainment didn't even last very long. Meanwhile, at a major medical center nearby, the atmosphere was super chaotic. Walking through the hospital halls, the redhead complains in frustration about having to pay $5 million in hospital bills, just from that single glance. Distracted by the crazy bill, he ends up bumping hard into another person on his path and immediately insults him. However, the guy he bumped into was Lu Tianian, the main heir of the Luo family, who snaps back instantly. Terrified, Lu Zi recognizes his older brother and stammers, trying to figure out what his brother is doing there. The guy in the suit firmly replies that he came to find out who had the nerve to disrespect their family line. Panicking, the younger brother waves his hands wildly, warning that they should absolutely not mess with that kind of person. Annoyed by his brother's fear, the young heir sarcastically asks if there's really anyone their family can't handle. Trying to calm things down, the redhead explains that the opponent is a tamer who contracted an extremely rare hell dragon. The news leaves the guy in the suit stunned, prompting him to ask if such a dangerous creature actually exists. The oldest brother crosses his arms, thinking it's been a long time since anyone with the skill to tame that kind of beast has appeared. Pretty intrigued by the story, he demands that his younger brother take him to the mysterious tamer right this second. The younger brother still hesitates, scared that not even his powerful older brother could win a fight against that beast. Annoyed by his brother's hesitation, the oldest slaps him on the head and lets him know that the point of the visit is strictly to apologize. Relieved by the answer, the redhead lets out an awkward laugh, accepting that only he would be dumb enough to pick a fight for no reason. On the way, they hear reasons that the powerful families would never keep such a formidable tamer a secret. Even so, he suspects that anyone with the power to control that kind of monster definitely has some ties to high society. After walking for a bit, the brothers finally reach the front of the humble pet shop, and the younger brother points to the entrance. The second they walk in, Lu Yu notices them and immediately figures the runaway kid came back with backup. Without wasting time, the man in the suit grabs his little brother and kicks him, sending him sliding right in front of the shop owner. Lying flat on the floor, the young guy follows orders and formally begs for forgiveness on behalf of his family for all the trouble. Right then, the main hare steps forward and offers a fancy little box as a peace offering. He begs our hero to have mercy on his little brother's stupidity and accept the gift as a genuine apology. The box opens to show a platinum-grade spatial taming crystal glowing brightly in his hands. Amazed by the precious stone, the shopkeeper wonders to himself what kind of background someone must have just hand over an item of that value. He flashes a satisfied grin, since the crystal was exactly the resource he needed to expand his tamer space. Accepting the elegant box, Lu Yu downplays the situation, saying he wouldn't waste his time holding a grudge over childish nonsense. The guy in the suit checks the shopkeeper's energy and concludes that he just leveled up, unlocking a new slot to contract pets. Confirming the deduction, the Luo family hare mentions that he also recently leveled up and unlocked his third taming slot. Looking around the room, the man in the suit points toward a corner, signaling a bird inside a cage. A tiny crimson fire chick was sleeping peacefully behind bars next to a sign showing a crazy price tag. The eye-catching sign made it clear that the little beast cost a whopping 3 million, a very hefty sum. Reading the room, the buyer doesn't hesitate and decides to buy the pet right then, and they're just to get on the shopkeeper's good side. The younger brother tugs on his older brother's sleeve, trying to warn him that dropping that kind of cash on a useless bird is a massive waste of money. Noticing the whispering in front of him, our MC crosses his arms and asks if the duo thinks he's trying to scam them. The man in the suit quickly denies the accusation, explaining that he just hadn't grasped the actual potential of the caged beast. Softening his tone, Lu Yu friendly mentions that he only put that rare beast up for sale because he noticed how incredibly honest the brothers were in their apology. The tiny pet radiates a strong wave of fire as the shopkeeper explains that the creature can purify flames to grow infinitely. The mind-blowing revelation about the chick's skills leaves the family hare completely speechless. To prove he isn't faking the sale, the shopkeeper offers to do a live demonstration right there in the shop. Raising his free hand, he conjures a mysterious, cold blue flame that hovers menacingly over his glove. Stunned by the display, the young master notices that the little pet doesn't show any fear at all in front of that icy fire. Instantly, the shop owner tosses the mysterious blue flame straight into the bird's cage. As soon as the little beast consumes the energy, a massive, majestic hologram of a magical bird appears, radiating brilliant light above the cage. The guy in the suit is left speechless, wondering how a simple red bird could carry the aura of a true fire sovereign. Standing next to his brother, he bows deeply in respect to show his deep gratitude for the blessing they were given. Always super laid back, our MC simply replies that there's no need for such big thanks over a common little pet. Working up some courage, the buyer asks if the shopkeeper has any ties to the Lu family, who are famous for controlling dragons. Hearing that name, our guy's face instantly darkens as bitter memories rush back into his mind. Using an extremely cold tone, he shuts down the topic, declaring he cut ties with those people a long time ago. Sensing the tense vibe, Luo Tianyan figures out that the guy must hold a deep hatred for that powerful family. He chooses not to press the issue and announces that the two of them are heading out. Finally alone, the manager holds the valuable spatial stone with excitement and decides now is the perfect time to use it. Focusing his inner strength, he enters his own tamer space, which starts glowing all around him. A bright flash spreads, breaking the limits of the space, as the system warns him that his domain has grown tremendously. Looking at the vastness of his new space, Lu Yu thinks about how luxurious it feels to use a premium resource to level up. Turning around, he looks at his massive black dragon and lets it know that now it's its turn to grow. In response, the monster lets out a deafening roar, breathing out intense red energy from its entire being. The virtual assistant pops up on the screen, explaining that the beast has reached the transcendent tier and gained the soul-shattering skill. Surrounded by violent fire, the giant reptile shows off its updated look with an even more menacing aura. Super happy with the result, our MC promises his pet that soon it'll get a taste of actual dragon meat. Time flies and tomorrow starts peacefully in the busy city streets. The sunlight lights up the door of our young tamer's humble shop. Chilling in his office with his pet curled up on his lap, he answers a call, asking if the slime's training is going well. On the other end of the line, Shen Nianian cheers that her little beast hit level 10 with massive capabilities. Excited, she laughs, mentioning that Manager Yang even locked up his clinic just to train his new skeleton. Somewhere far away at a local slaughterhouse, several birds are clucking and flapping around in a warehouse. The appraiser in the suit watches his tiny monster in red boots wipe out the birds like crazy, leveling up non-stop from the endless grind. Blown away by the scene, the workers comment that the little pet wiped out thousands of chickens in a ridiculously short time. Happy with the progress, the manager stands up and tells the workers that this will be his last day working at the shop. One of the young guys asks if he finally came to his senses, thinking it's a massive waste of time for a tamer of his level to work there. Adjusting his glasses with a subtle smile, Yang King grabs a butcher knife and explains that from now on, the plan is to start slaughtering pigs. Holding a gold card, he explains that he needs to clear these beasts to unlock a premium slaughter pass. He wants to access high-tier dungeons packed with terrifying beasts, which would serve as the perfect meal for his partner's unlimited evolution. Showing a hologram of a massive laughing skull behind him, the tamer assures them that soon his pet will reach a terrifying level of power. After hearing this whole story, the shopkeeper hangs up, thinking the manager's growth strategy is a bit extreme. Despite the surprise, he admits to himself that using slaughterhouses is actually the perfect tactic to max out the pet's powers based on pure numbers. Relaxing in his chair, our guy figures that by keeping up this crazy routine, the manager will soon become one of the strongest fighters in the city. Right then, a notification lights up his screen, alerting him that his business partner just recommended a new customer to his pet shop. Super relieved by the good news, our hero praises the move, since he really needed to boost his sales for the day. Moments later, Lu Tianian sends a text saying he wants to bring his younger sister to buy a monster, which our guy approves instantly. Enjoying the piece before opening up, he takes a sip of coffee while his scaly pet relaxes peacefully by his side. Petting the little beast's head, he tells it to be patient, swearing that very soon he'll get enough space for its next evolution phase. The peace of the shop is broken the moment the front door swings open, revealing a tall guy with his brown hair tied back. Flashing a warm smile, the seller stands up to greet the customer, happy to see his shop pulling in some good business. The newcomer crosses his arms arrogantly, doubting that such a simple shop could offer goods superior to his own famous families. Keeping it polite, our MC replies that he doesn't like to brag, but his shop deals strictly in high-tier beasts. Angered by the confidence, Jiang Sharong snaps back instantly, calling it an insult to label products from such a tiny hole in the wall as high-end goods. The vibe at the counter gets tense, and the seller adjusts his posture, starting to run out of his small supply of patience. Without showing any respect, the guy raises his voice, demanding to see the exceptional creatures the shop claims to have. Sighing with boredom, Lu Yu reaches out and conjures a small glowing cage made of energy right on the counter. The light fades to show a simple green goblin locked inside, presented as a great purchase option. With a serious face, the shop owner starts explaining the mysterious traits of the little guy. However, the guy in the suit slams his hand hard on the counter and yells in a fury, asking if this is just some sick joke. Pointing his finger at our guy, he throws it in his face that he actually thought about recommending the shop to his bosses. But this is complete garbage. He then turns around, swearing up and down that he'll make sure the shop goes bankrupt in less than a week. Confused by such an over-the-top reaction, our hero raises his hand, trying to reason with the angry buyer. Right at that moment, the sound of boots echoing rings out, and a girl with red pigtails walks in, questioning the guy's arrogance. Standing next to the family here, the girl sarcastically crosses her arms and mocks the fake authority the manager tried to flex in the shop. Caught off guard by the unexpected arrival, the bully recognizes the two instantly and asks what people of their status are doing there. Sweating cold, his eyes go wide as he realizes in terror that this humble shop must have the backing of that powerful family. The terrified man shakes with fear, remembering that his boss's business deals depend entirely on the approval of those two figures at the door. Giving zero attention to the shaking guy, the younger sister walks forward, oozing confidence. Right after, Lu Tinian steps up and bows, greeting the shopkeeper in a very formal way. Seeing this, the girl blushes, totally amazed by how young and handsome the owner is. Still frozen in his corner, the bully can barely believe that the proud young master is calling a regular guy senior. Trying to explain himself, the guy opens his mouth, but gets immediately shut down by the hare, who orders him to be quiet. Panicking at the scolding, the arrogant man falls to his knees on the floor, crying and claiming his whole life is ruined for pissing off the wrong people. Ignoring the drama, the young hare focuses on the counter and politely introduces his lovely little sister to our MC. The shopkeeper nods with a welcoming smile, trying to make the new customer feel more at ease. However, his smile quickly fades as he remembers he urgently needs funds to pay for his dragon's next evolution phase. Noticing the clear worry on his face, the guy in the suit asks if his unhappiness is because the creature on the counter was rejected. Wanting to please the expert, he doesn't hesitate for a second and confidently declares he will buy the goblin. Annoyed by the stupidity, Lu Jingjing argues with her brother, asking where he gets the courage to waste money without even knowing the beast's stats. The oldest brother puffs out his chest and assures her that he blindly trusts any product sold in this shop, leaving our hero completely embarrassed. Coughing to hide his embarrassment, the seller points to the little guy and lets them know he'll explain everything in detail before wrapping up the sale. Showing off the little green monster up close, the shop owner explains that the creature can gain power and stats by breeding and raising hares. Very calmly, he adds that the more powerful the original beast becomes, the higher the chance of producing top-tier offspring. Using this endless cycle, Lu Yu assures the siblings that in no time, the owner of the beast will control an incredibly strong army. Listening to the explanation, Luo Tianyan is amazed, realizing the valuable opportunity he almost missed. Without hesitating, the young hare leans over the counter, begging the shopkeeper to close the deal with his family right away. Trying to justify his panic, the man in the suit recalls that the 3 big dragon taming clans only hold such power thanks to those beasts. With this, he figures that the breeding rate of the little goblin rivals that of the winged reptiles, which would guarantee his family's rise to power. Our MC keeps his cool and simply asks if it would make any difference which buyer he sold the monster to. However, he warns that the new owner needs to bond with the little guy right away, asking if they already have someone in mind for that. Seeing the green beast holding a flower, Lu Jingjing feels grossed out, imagining how weird it would look for a woman to bond with that thing. Recovering his composure, the suit-clad hare confidently declares he has already found the perfect person to adopt the new pet. The young man explains that the chosen person is the unacknowledged son of the former leader, whose mother was secretly taken out by the official matriarch. Since he was the one who gave the guy the chance to return to the Luo family, the hare is absolutely sure the man would never betray him. Outside the shop, the bully hears the story and panics, believing he just overheard some highly classified information. Sweating cold, he quickly concludes that if important people are talking about this topic openly in front of him, something terrible is about to happen. Noticing the eavesdropper nearby, the young hare shoots a deadly, dangerous glare at him. Trying to save his skin, the gossip acts desperate and screams, asking why he suddenly lost his sight. Keeping up the act, he covers his ears, complaining that he went blind and deaf, while the guy in the suit wonders if he should just take him out for good. Sparing the poor guy's life, the oldest brother turns his back and warns him in a threatening tone to take today's events as a light warning. Using a cruel voice, he orders the gossip to get out of there and keep his mouth shut, swearing severe consequences if any rumors leak. Instantly, the coward bows, assuring him that he got the message loud and clear, and that from now on, he'll be mute. Watching the performance, the seller notes that the guy's quick thinking was the only thing that kept him alive. Lightening the heavy mood, the younger sister grabs her brother's suit jacket, complaining that if a servant got an amazing beast, she deserves one too. Pouting, the girl stomps her feet, demanding to leave the shop with an extremely powerful little monster of her own. Trying to calm his sister down, the young man assures her that the shopkeeper will provide something much more appropriate for her, claiming the little goblin is no big deal anyway. Full of high hopes, Lu Jingjing lights up just imagining that there are even better magical beasts in the shop. Shifting her focus, she quickly turns to our hero with a charming smile and starts calling him manager. Leaning over the counter, the buyer sweetly asks if he might have the perfect pet for her situation. Showing off her ice talent, the girl reveals a blue glow and demands an ice element creature that's just as excellent as her brother's bird. Completely calm under the strict demand, Lu Yu nods, stating he has exactly what she's looking for. Reaching out, the seller creates a small blue glow and guarantees the next product will be the perfect match for her talent. An elegant gold-trimmed cage appears on the counter, showing a beautiful, harmless-looking ice fox sitting peacefully inside. Fascinated by the creature's looks, the girl asks if the beast can purify magical ice to boost its strength. Our MC praises the buyer's intelligence, confirming that the fox has the ability to grow endlessly by consuming that element. To show off the animal's excellence, he suggests she run a practical test using her own energy. Super excited, the girl steps closer to the cage, offering a portion of her ice power directly to the pet. The pet happily consumes the power, its light for turning a lovely shade of blue as it shows off pure joy. Hooked on what she sees, the girl immediately wants to know the price, stating she'd pay millions right now without a second thought. Avoiding taking advantage of the situation, The seller politely lets her know the price stays fixed at the same 3 million requested for each pet before. Holding the cage, the younger sister celebrates while her brother nods in thanks for the help and lets him know the payment is on the way. Happy with the day's sales, Lu Yu relaxes and replies that they're very welcome, wrapping up the excellent business deal with the duo. Suddenly, the tiny dark dragon leaps onto the counter, letting out a fierce growl to warn its master of an approaching threat. The sudden alarm catches everyone's attention, and they all turn their heads at the same time to see what's going on outside. A violent gust of wind sweeps past the shop's door, signaling that something highly dangerous has just arrived nearby. Our MC's face darkens instantly as he senses the suffocating energy of a massive dragon drawing close. Knowing exactly where that unwanted visitor came from, the guy mocks the situation, certain that the Lu family has finally made their move. In a different location, the scene shifts to a massive, luxurious estate surrounded by huge, perfectly kept gardens. Relaxing in the middle of the yard, a giant crimson dragon rests peacefully in the warm sunlight. On the mansion's balcony, the cruel aunt calmly sips her tea while a henchman approaches, asking for permission to speak. Holding her cup, the strict woman recalls that she gave direct orders to keep a close eye on that unwanted brat, Lu Yu. Furthermore, she stresses that the subordinate should focus on finding the cash the boy's parents hid in the past. Slamming her cup onto the saucer, the wealthy woman gets angry, asking why the henchman hasn't found a single lead after all these years. Falling to his knees, the man reports that he ran into a new complication regarding the boy, getting immediate permission to share the news. Getting straight to the point, the henchman reveals that her nephew has not only recovered his taming talent, but has also bonded with a black dragon. Hearing this, the woman stands up and slams the table hard, refusing to believe the news. Foaming with rage, she screams, wanting to know how that useless brat got back to controlling beasts when his talent was stolen as a kid. Surrounded by a dark energy, the villain coldly decides that the young man has become a real threat and must be taken out of the picture. Following the order to eliminate him immediately, the kneeling henchman simply replies that he understands his new mission perfectly. Back in the shop, the holographic screen pops up, congratulating our hero on hitting the goal of 5 pets sold. Finishing the notification, the digital assistant lets him know that the reward for this goal is a random max tier SSS-Rank talent. Paying close attention to the floating screen, the AI displays a glowing button, asking if the tamer wants to claim his reward right now. The guy is super excited, thinking it's a massive cheat to get a new SSS-Rank talent so quickly. Quickly, he taps the screen, confirming the receipt of the mysterious bonus generated by the system. Right at that second, a purple energy bursts into our hero's body while the screen signals the arrival of the god, slaying heavenly fire. Caught off guard by the sudden burst of energy, the young master falls to his knees, unable to handle the crushing pressure, and his sister drops right after him. Covered in sweat, the young hare swallows hard, trying to figure out if the seller had just activated some brand new fire talent. Suffering under that suffocating pressure, he reasons that not even an S-rank fighter could give off such a terrifying energy. Boiling with purple flames, the seller wonders why his customers suddenly knelt down, while the guy in the suit suspects SSS-Rank presence. The girl with pigtails remains on the floor, holding her cage tightly, while her brother tries to catch his breath on his knees. Hiding his fear, the guy makes up a cheap lie that his legs just suddenly lost all strength, which is why he can't stand up. Dragging his little sister by the arm, he stammeringly warns her that it's getting late, and they don't want to hold up the shop's business anymore. With a flushed face, the buyer pouts and complains that she wanted to stay and hang out with the shop owner a bit longer. The man in the suit ignores her complaints and drags the grumbling girl out of the shop as fast as he can, escaping the terrifying energy. Peace briefly returns to the little shop after the hurried departure of the day's 2 VIP customers. However, a green dragon lands heavily right in front of the pet shop, while the rider yells, ordering Lu Yu to come out and face his end. Looking toward the door, Lu Yu declares that there was a path to heaven the attacker ignored, choosing instead to barge straight into hell. Mounted on his beast, Lu Hen responds in a rage that the kid's attitude is way too arrogant, regretting that they were too soft when they spared his life years ago. With a hard expression, the young manager declares that he survived and became a tamer for the sole purpose of avenging every single humiliation he suffered. Suddenly, our hero's mind flashes back to the past, remembering his family's massive, dark mansion on a freezing cold night. Kneeling on the floor, little Lu Yu begs desperately for his uncle, Lu Di, to save him from the family head who wants to steal his talent. Showing zero mercy, the man kicks him, sending him flying. Looking at the boy on the floor, Lu Di coldly states that having his talent recognized by the leader and becoming a sacrifice for the young master is a massive privilege. The child refuses to accept the situation. Right then, a heavy boot stomps hard on his back, drawing a painful groan from the boy on the dark floor. Sitting on her fancy chair, the aunt looks down at him with disgust and asks if she ever gave him permission to leave. Through tears of pain, The boy screams that this talent is his, and nobody has permission to steal his strength. However, the man approaches and harshly replies that such a decision was never up to a worthless brat like him. Holding her cup, the lady coldly orders her subordinate to begin the cruel extraction process without leaving any evidence behind. Showing his cruelty, the executioner follows the command and starts channeling his dark power over the helpless child. Next, he brutally stumps on the little boy's hand, who lets out a scream of despair from the extreme force of the blow. Knocked down and bleeding heavily, the child begs one more time for them to stop this heartless torture immediately. Stomping even harder, the guy complains in annoyance that the boy's screaming is just getting irritating. A heartbreaking scream of extreme pain echoes through the quiet halls of the mansion as the atrocity is carried out. Snapping back to the present, Lu Hen mocks the young man's words, asking if the fact that he awakened his taming talent changes anything at all. Our hero fires back with disdain, asking who the Lu family members and Lu Hen himself think they are to try and control his life's path. Absolutely furious at the sarcasm, the opponent screams that a piece of trash has no right to act so cocky. The tiny reptile lets out an angry growl. Mockingly, the opponent says he finds it hilarious that a useless nobody managed to make a pact with a dragon-type beast. Looking at the tiny pet, he ridicules it, claiming the baby looks like it was forced to fight before even reaching maturity. And because of that, it won't be able to handle even a single blast from his formidable wind elemental dragon. Immediately, the opponent commands his massive dragon to blast a devastating storm right at the shop. The massive green beast roars loudly and sends a violent wave of slicing wind toward the modest shop. Keeping his cool in the middle of the gale, the manager stands there holding his tiny companion in his arms. However, the violent wind dies down without causing a single scratch. Shocked by our guy's defense, the rival tries to keep his composure, claiming a starter dragon at level 10 means nothing to him. A massive explosion of crimson flames consumes the air, leaving the opponent stunned as he realizes his attack was completely cancelled out. Among the flames, our hero's eyes glow brightly as his dark beast's aura starts blowing up in the yard. The young man asks if that's really all the power his opponent has. The majestic shape of the dark monster appears high above, while our guy concludes that the attacker chose to meet his end right here. The dark beast lets out a monstrous roar that makes the entire street shake under the massive weight of its menacing presence. Taking the crushing impact, the rival starts sweating in panic and asks in terror what kind of absurd beast is standing in front of him. Panicking, he tries to stay in control, reminding himself that his win partner is at the 10th level of the star class, and that losing should be impossible. However, our MC fires back, scoffing that a creature of that rank wouldn't even count as an appetizer for his dark beast. Raising his left arm, he activates his unique power, summoning the dragon's mystical domain that dyes the entire field deep red. Right then, dark chains lock down the opponent's dragon completely. Filled with terror at what he's seeing, Lu Heng desperately asks how a simple tamer has the power to summon a dragon's domain. Our hero explains that this magical area is an exclusive power that only the most ancient and dark races can control. In a highly mocking tone, he explains that, unluckily for his opponent, his beast belongs to the terrifying race of demon dragons, acting as the ultimate apex predator that hunts down and feeds on the most colossal and mystical monsters in the entire land. The massive dark dragon strikes violently, blasting a devastating beam of red energy right at the cornered wind dragon. Facing the crushing blast of incoming energy, the opponent watches helplessly as disaster draws near, unable to build any defense. The green reptile screams in pain as it gets hit hard by the devastating blast, which completely shatters its wind shield. The colossal beast crashes down from the sky, severely injured, landing heavily in the middle of the street along with its arrogant owner. The crash completely wrecks the road around them. Collapsed and without the strength to stand up, the opponent mutters in confusion, asking how he could suffer such a shameful defeat to this young kid. Covered in blood and wounds, the attacker tries to crawl away, desperate to escape Lu Yu's relentless wrath, but our MC quickly approaches and brutally stumps on the enemy's hand, making him scream in pain. Looking down at his prey with pure sarcasm, the shopkeeper asks how it feels to get obliterated by the one he used to call trash. He presses his boot down even harder against the opponent's hand, mentioning that he had been eagerly waiting for this chance at payback for years. Crying and terrified, Lu Hen begs for his life, using the fake affection he supposedly showed when he was watching the boy in the past. Our guy fires back with a sarcastic laugh, asking if constant physical abuse and cruelty really deserve to be called affection. Leaning down to look at the victim up close, he commands in a freezing cold voice for the guy to watch closely what happens next. The beast steps forward with its jaws wide open. Showing zero mercy, the shadow creature bites and starts devouring the elemental dragon, tearing the monster apart without giving it a chance to escape. The helpless dragon lets out a faint final groan of pain as it gets swallowed whole by the massive, hungry jaws of the dominant beast. Witnessing his partner get eaten, the opponent screams in despair, covered in tears as he watches his beloved pet get devoured. Completely broken, he crawls forward begging for mercy, swearing he'll do whatever the kid wants as long as his life is spared. The shopkeeper shoots a look of absolute disgust at him. Keeping an incredibly cold tone of voice, our MC decrees that the only fitting end for a traitor is to repent in hell. The massive hell creature lines up right behind the pinned opponent, gearing up to deliver the final strike on its master's command. With a lightning-fast strike, the dragon's claws come down on his old tormentor. Petting his majestic beast's face, the young man praises his pet for doing an excellent job eliminating the threat tied to his family. The system assistant pops up on a virtual screen, congratulating the user on his grand victory over the Lu Clan opponent. Right after, the AI delivers the quest reward, showing he obtained an extremely rare red, star-grade resource. The artifact hovers in the room, showing itself to be the demon's heart, which holds the entire wisdom of an ancient dark sovereign, capable of boosting a pet's dark attributes directly to the maximum red star tier. Pointing to the screen calmly, the assistant lets him know there are still other surprises and benefits waiting for him, also letting him know that by hitting the 900 points mark, he finally unlocked the chance to make a pact with a brand new creature. With his eyes glowing, the young man thinks about the amazing chance to grow his squad of tamed beasts. Focusing mystical force in his hand, he remembers that his current talent is the god, slaying heavenly fire, and decides to use it for his choice. With his mind made up, our hero doesn't hesitate and focuses on the exact option offered by the system's virtual window. Instantly, he hits the confirmation button on the screen to claim his newest magical creature. A massive portal starts forming in the center of the room, swirling instantly with a highly powerful purple force. From the middle of the vortex appears a majestic, glowing bird with colorful feathers, which instantly lights up the entire room. Our MC observes the formidable bird while the holographic screen displays the creature's impressive raw power. Amazed by the power radiating from his new purchase, the young man shows his admiration, stating that its presence is massive. The formidable creature spreads its wings, letting out a bright glow, proving it belongs to the level 1 Sacred Spirit class. Instantly, the tamer thinks about the country's ancient mystical beasts, which fit perfectly into this same colossal power level. He recalls that in the entire world, there are only 6 immortal beasts with that kind of power used to protect nations. Surrounded by a warm force in his palm, Lu Yu promises that his pet will keep evolving until it surpasses the sacred dragon that guards their own nation's borders. Excited by this prospect of destructive power, he instantly activates a glowing pentagram to seal the final pact with the Firebird. The divine pet lets out a powerful chirp toward the shop's ceiling, sealing the unbreakable bond with its tamer. At that moment, our guy stops his deep thinking as he remembers a small detail about their living arrangements that he almost forgot. He shrinks the bird's size and thinks with relief that now it's way more practical and simple to carry his new partner around. Looking at his 2 tamed beasts, he figures their strength puts him just one move away from pulling off his revenge. Directing all his focus to his dark partner, he calls out the name of his colossal dragon of destruction. Using a friendly tone, the seller gently asks the giant not to play rough with the new, fragile member of the team. The scaly monster lets out a loud growl at the bird, but the owner swears he'll buy race upgrades as soon as he hits the shop's next goals. The little bird perched on his shoulder chirps softly, trying to make contact after watching all the anger and noise coming from its dragon partner. Completely free of fear, the tiny winged pet takes flight and flies gently right over to the dark beast. The giant focuses its massive red eyes on the tiny flying shape drawing near. Slowly, the bird slows down and lands very gently right in front of the massive beast's dangerous face. At that exact second, the massive dragon's heart is completely won over by the pure charm of its tiny winged companion. Completely disarmed by the sweet scene, the dragon starts acting playful and sweet, waving its front claws in the air in a funny little dance. Our guy watches the silliness and chuckles, concluding that mesmerizing beauty can disarm and distract even the most aggressive beast. With that peace treaty sorted out, our hero happily lets his dark dragon know he has saved an amazing reward just for it. Holding a glowing, vibrant object, the tamer explains that eating the stone will help the pet break through its old limits and quickly level up its tier. Having no intention of passing up the tempting offer, the scaly monster lunges forward eagerly to grab the delicious stone. The massive reptile swallows the red stone instantly, opening its sharp jaws wide. However, it suffers a major choke on the crystal, which gets dangerously and uncomfortably stuck in its throat. Worried by all that rushing, our guy tells the monster to have some patience because the gem lets off a highly raw and dark energy. The monster groans in pain, pointing to its neck, and gets immediately scolded that eating too fast was bound to cause a very painful digestion. Softening his voice to a much calmer tone, the master tells the beast to stop moving around so violently, promising he'll help with the complex digestion process. Radiating a massive, glowing blue flame that covers his own body, the young master uses his inner strength to refine the crystal's aggressive energy. The massive dragon roars loudly as it feels the painful currents of magical power flowing through its entire dark body. After a massive dump of energy, the painful magical conversion finally ends, and the monster gets the green light to digest the rest of the power at will. Instantly, the reptile lets out a massive roar of pure dark destruction, breaking old chains while unleashing its massive red energy. The digital assistant pops up shortly after, smiling gently to congratulate the young man on his pet's brilliant and successful upgrade. The blue-haired virtual girl excitedly confirms that all of the dangerous monster's ultimate spells have been upgraded. With its massive red eyes glowing, the creature reaches the coveted red star tier, locking in formidable defenses against mental attacks. Feeling completely full of himself thanks to this crazy new barrier, free energy, the massive dark dragon feels invincible and demands that the tiny purple bird obey him. Next, after showing off, the massive creature drops its guard and rubs affectionately against its owner. Acting like a spoiled baby, the beast praises the amazing taste of the demon's heart and begs the human to find some more. Annoyed by the ridiculous and unrealistic request, the tamer asks in disbelief if the creature lost its mind, thinking such a rare item is just some casual snack. After surviving all this loud chaos inside his pet shop, the manager flashes a proud smile, feeling fully prepared for whatever challenges come next. Looking closely at the pool of blood left on the sidewalk, our guy crosses his arms, muttering about what a massive headache it'll be to clean up that spot. Making a quick call on his cell phone, he downplays the situation, saying he just made a little mess and requests fast help with the cleanup. Moments after the phone call, a respectable, well-dressed crew belonging to the Liu family arrives at the bloody alleyway, accepting the request to do that. Modus cleanup. The businessman Liu Tianyan walks at the front of the group, staring blankly at the massive, disturbing red stain covering the entire sidewalk. Completely stunned and sweating from anxiety at the clear scene of carnage, the young hare wonders to himself how the seller had the nerve to call this massacre a little mess. Crouching bravely near the bloody area, the rich guy inspects the deep cuts caused by wind spells and deduces that a giant wyvern lost its life right there. Thinking about this grim discovery on the ground, the young man remembers that only the insufferable Liu family has control over those terrifying reptiles in the entire city. Backing away from the creepy alley, the rich guy thinks in awe that the simple shopkeeper won a tough fight, showing a strength far superior to his opponents. Sticking to his calm demeanor, because of his business partner's massive power, the man orders that the cleanup of the evidence be handled strictly by his tight-lipped soldiers. In a split second, the narrow path is completely washed down using a ton of water and advanced gear, hiding any trace of the previous fight. Peace returns once again far away from the stained street, with the sunbeams bathing the green grass of the Luo clan's massive, spotless luxury estate. Right after the powerful young leader walks into his massive home, a worried servant warns him that his younger sister woke up completely furious. Running desperately across the paved yard, Liu Jingjing screams in frustration, insulting her older brother's weird decisions. Absolutely disgusted by what happened, the girl crosses her arms, blaming him for wasting their finest luxury items to evolve green goblin tier beasts. Stomping her small shoe impatiently, the younger sister uses pure logic to point out that dumping funds into a hideous race with terrible breeding rates is complete idiocy. Keeping his usual untouchable style, Luo Tianyan firmly fires back, teaching her that this rare goblin line is actually capable of breeding to create a massive clan. With a strong gleam of greed in his eyes, the hare assures her that in the future, he will dominate the scene by relying on the endless horde of creatures bred from that spot. Completely ignoring the strategic explanation, the girl huffs and puffs, repeating that the plan can't be changed by giving up on upgrading her soft, furred fox. The businessman flashes a genuine, gentle smile and pats the angry girl's head, letting her know he actually covered the cost for 2 major evolutions. At this promising moment of clarification, a respectable maid in uniform walks up carrying the grand prize inside a heavily reinforced and completely sealed case. Super hyped and curious to check out the amazing goodies, the teenager rushes forward, impatiently demanding that the maid hand over the box. The moment the latches are opened and the fancy lid is moved, the girl catches her breath, enchanted to find a glowing and insanely expensive collection of gems. Hypnotized by the exotic glow coming from the perfect stones inside, the young girl jumps for joy, promising eternal love for the rest of her life. Abruptly interrupting that innocent excitement, the guy coldly states that the treasures saved in there belong strictly to the veteran pet shopkeeper as a gift. Disappointed by the bitter injustice of acting as a messenger and getting 0 reward, the little girl cries softly and swears to get verbal payback against the shop owner. Back at the front of our hero's neat shop, the vibe is peaceful, letting the massive sign reflect on the thick, polished glass window. Standing alone on the sidewalk in front of the quiet shop, the girl carrying the stones pauses, thinking about her older brother's firm words. Holding the massive locked box close to her with suspicion, she wonders to herself if all of this is just complete madness from someone dealing in the artifact market. Vivid memories of her brother celebrating their old pact flash clearly, reminding her of the moment he admitted to running into the biggest power barrier of his life. Showing deep pride in his bold decision to chase this new goal, the oldest brother concluded that breaking his old chains and reaching the peak was just a matter of time. Arriving at the small shop street, excitement takes over the Luo family girl, who plans to build a solid alliance with the owner to reach the overlord rank. Without delay, she pushes open the glass door and loudly announces her arrival to the seller. Holding the open chest in her arms, the customer presents the legendary extreme temperature items as a light token of appreciation from her family. Our young MC is surprised by the gifts, saying the guy in the suit had already helped clean up the previous mess, and he hadn't even had the chance to say thanks. Downplaying her brother's help, the customer assures him it was no trouble at all and highlights that the creatures bought at his shop are worth many times more than those glowing resources. Our guy thinks about the situation, wondering if the beasts the system provides really hold such mind-blowing power. Still, he nods to accept the gift, saying he wouldn't want to insult her by rejecting the courtesy. Excited by how things went, the girl says goodbye, letting him know he's free to ask for whatever he needs in the future. Once he's alone, our guy takes the glowing crimson fire gem out of the box to inspect it closely. Admiring the valuable item in the middle of his shop, he concludes that this resource is perfect to feed his emperor-level bird. With a quick wave, he summons his tiny purple, winged bird, which appears hovering and flapping its wings. Holding the glowing magic gem in his hand, he offers it, asking the pet to check out the true power packed inside. The pet lets out a happy chirp and starts eagerly vacuuming up all the fire power radiating from the mineral. Lost in watching the process, Lu Yu is amazed to see that the creature managed to break its level barrier without any issues. A massive purple glow wraps around the bird, which lets out a sharp cry as its body swells and transforms at lightning speed. The system's AI pops up at the exact same moment to congratulate the owner, letting him know the majestic bird broke through multiple limits at once. The blue display shows that his partner gained the power of its true form and boosted its fire abilities in an unbelievable way. Watching the impressive bird move through the room, the manager happily concludes that the beasts bought through point exchange are insanely superior to the freebies. Miles away, daily life goes on peacefully through the grand, brightly lit halls of the university where beast tamers are trained. In the main auditorium, Professor Liu warns her students that during her class, the most important thing to remember is that raw power beats everything. As a senior tamer with the Black Moon rank, the woman toweringly asks, who among those present feels confident in their own combat level. Keeping a strict attitude, she asks for a student to come up on stage to help with a live demonstration of the techniques. Excitement spreads through the stands, with several male students raising their hands eagerly, ready to show off their silver and gold rank beasts. Wanting to spice up the atmosphere, the professor explains with a slight smile that the demonstration must include an actual beast duel. Meanwhile, our shopkeeper appears in the seats among the crowd and intentionally picks two students to face off. Caught off guard by the nomination, the blue-haired girl shrinks back in her seat, asking if he's actually serious. On the opposite side of the room, a guy with spiked hair crosses his arms, oozing an incredibly cocky attitude. Whispers quickly start up among the other students who recognize Du Royan as a rising talent focused strictly on support. On the other hand, the other chosen volunteer is Yan Shopping, famous for contracting a wolf-type beast designed strictly to cause massive damage. Completely terrified by the situation, the young support student swallows hard, anticipating that she'll get easily wiped out without putting up a fight. Worried for her partner, Shen Nianian whispers that her friend's tiny butterfly pet will end up torn to shreds, advising her to make up some excuse to bail on the fight. Showing a confident look, her friend offers to take the fight in her place, demanding some compliments as payback. Without a second thought, Du Ruyan grabs her dramatic friend, begging for her life, saving help, and calling her the strongest fighter of all time. Ready to rumble, Nianian stands up, swearing that handling this simple issue will be child's play. The boys in the crowd watch in awe as the participants swap, totally charmed by the girl's bravery and looks. Walking down the steps, the student explains to the instructor that her friend is strictly a support type and asks for permission to fight in her spot. The teacher agrees to the swap right away, figuring it's a good choice to keep the challenge at a fair level. Next, the woman looks toward the arrogant guy, asking if he's cool with the new fighter, but he simply replies that it doesn't matter to him. With a cruel glint in his eye, Yan Shopping swears the result will always be his victory, no matter who the rival is. Ready on stage, the girl doesn't waste time and summons her tiny blue pet, which appears bouncing across the floor. The crowd is left stunned seeing the jelly-like beast, thinking it's pure madness to use such a weak animal in a fight against a transcendent tier beast. Even the instructor tries to double-check the student's decision, asking if she's absolutely sure about using this tiny pet in the match. Wanting to flex his superiority, The opponent warns ahead of time that life and death on the stage depend entirely on fate. He clenches his fists with energy and warns that he won't pay a single dime in damages when he tears the enemy's beast to pieces. The watching students gasp at the guy's nerve to speak that way to such a popular girl. Watching the scene from his seat, the shop owner flashes a smile and advises his classmates not to sleep on the jelly monster's abilities. The support girl questions his words, thinking the beast has a super low offensive limit, but Lu Yu simply tells her to just focus on the fight. Standing on the stage, the cocky boy promises to give her a free lesson so his partner can grasp and not look down on the pure talent of a beast tamer. Letting out a wicked laugh, the guy views the whole situation as a joke and warns that talking time is over. Driven by his inner rage, the opponent summons his monstrous wolf beast, which holds a terrifying jagged saber. The wolf-like creature roars loudly, radiating a heavy red aura across the auditorium. On the other side, the tiny blue pet happily bounces around its owner, completely ignoring the danger. The two tamers stare each other down with massive confidence as the pre-fight hype reaches its peak. Ready to strike, the wolf beast takes an aggressive stance, letting out a menacing growl at the harmless looking blue target. Armed with the blade, the werewolf runs at high speed across the arena, aiming strictly to slice the victim to pieces. Unshaken by the sudden charge, Shen Nianyan flashes a small smile, showing an unbelievable level of calm. The student snaps her fingers, calling for a fluid blue defense, and instantly conjures a super thick water shield around her pet. The opponent scoffs at the barrier, thinking it's just some cheap gold-level trick, and commands his beast to go all out. The monster lunges forward, focusing a massive amount of red power into its weapon. Convinced there's no escape from death for the little water ball. Moving brutally, the wolf swings its large blade in a terrifying horizontal slash straight at the round blue pet. A fast wave of red slashes collides dead, on with the water shield, trying to violently shred the blue beast. Among the crowd, some start finding the blue pet's resistance to the violent charge pretty amazing, while others scoff at it. Suddenly, the werewolf beast is blown back in a major way, letting out a painful growl from the sudden loss of balance. Still blinded by his own vanity, Yan Shaping laughs, assuming a simple water barrier couldn't possibly stop his strong fighter. However, the alert crowd quickly notices that the wolf-like creature is coughing up a ridiculous amount of blood. Pinned by heavy magical currents made of water, the canine-type beast suffers severe internal damage, bleeding non-stop. Unable to handle the blow, the werewolf collapses to the floor, letting out groans of agony in front of everyone. The cocky tamer's eyes go wide in absolute shock, struggling to process how his formidable beast was crushed so easily. Letting out a soft, sarcastic chuckle, Shen Nianyan mockingly asks if the tough guy finally realizes he's been completely destroyed. Terrified by the unthinkable result, the guy stammers to himself, repeating that losing to that kind of trash is totally unrealistic. Psychologically broken by the shame, he drops to his knees on the floor, clawing at his own hair as absolute despair eats him alive. Hugging her beloved sticky blue pet, the girl speaks up, telling the crowd that the world of beast tamers is made of endless horizons of opportunities. Standing near the smiling shopkeeper, the student adds with high self-esteem that the day will come when her little blue slime will tear apart a giant dragon. Hyped by the brutal comeback and the exciting speech, the kids spread across the auditorium leap out of their seats. The crowd goes wild, cheering for the college's hero student and begging her to reveal the diet secrets that evolved her little monster. Deeply relieved by the end of the fight, Du Ruyan rushes over to Shen Nianyan, calling her name. She wraps her friend in a tight hug, confessing she had absolute faith in her victory from the very start. Oozing confidence, the champion smiles, claiming that wrapping up that challenge was the easiest job in the universe. Lying flat on the battle stage, Yan Shaping shakes his motionless beast's body, screaming for his partner to wake up right now. Watching the young man's panic, the support girl approaches, offering help to patch up the injured creature's physical state. Shy and shaken by everything he just saw, the Beastmaster thanks her for the help and apologizes for all the trouble he caused. Watching the events closely, the slime's creator puffs out her chest, pointing out that her friend's medical bills are insanely high, and that the guy got incredibly lucky. Du Ruyan softens the mood, gently stating that everyone in the room is just a classmate in the same course. Focusing on her job, the student summons her beautiful white moon insect and calls on a massive healing power. The glowing magic completely wraps around the injured werewolf, instantly healing all the wolf beast's deep wounds. Shocked by the speed of the healing, the Beastmaster amazedly guesses that such an action must come from a gold-ranked talent. Professor Lu carefully weighs the traits of the support pet, suspecting that the animal has a reach comparable to the hollow moon class. Highly impressed by this revelation, the teacher wonders to herself how this could happen, considering that lineage was completely wiped out. Solving the mystery, the student reveals that her pet started as a simple green silk cocoon that somehow gained the ability to evolve. The teacher freezes in shock at the story, quickly deducing that some top-tier expert must have helped with that extreme mutant change. Hooked by the story, the woman asks the girl to come to her private office right after class ends. Turning her attention back to the whole class, the professor points out the day's two unusual incidents to back up her claim that taming beasts leads to endless possibilities. The young healer fully agrees with the lesson's words. Keeping a serious look, the teacher stresses that remarkable achievements are strictly produced through a max-level nutrition system. She starts her speech, sharing that thousands of years ago, a mysterious society existed that pushed animal taming and breeding to its peak. Shen Nianian follows the story in complete awe, showing her desire to learn more about the topic. The professor dives deeper into the legend of a tribe known as the Creators, who held the power to turn a dumb sea creature into a massive mythological beast. Hooked by the story, her classmate whispers that this transition from fish to dragon goes way beyond mere drama. Excited by the new subject, the slime's master suggests her friend join her in history class to hear more legendary tales from that ancient time. Showing her frustration, the teacher lets them know that working in this field required unbelievable skills, which led to their complete wipeout from the world over the years. Connecting the dots, Du Royan starts suspecting that the mysterious shopkeeper might be a descendant of those ancient creators. Professor Liu listens to the side whispers and immediately shows her fascination with the guy running that shop. Shen Nianian then clarifies that the little monsters affected by the magic come strictly from the shop run by that guy. Deducing the possibility that he might be the legend in disguise behind those unbelievable mutations, the professional decides she must check out the shop right this second. A beautiful, pricey sports car glides through the wide city streets, heading toward our hero's simple pet shop. The teacher steps out of the car, adjusting her posture in front of the windows. Checking out the modest setup, she confirms that this is indeed the right place offering those rare, mythical specimens. Stashing her glasses with a smooth look, the woman whispers to herself that she has finally reached her target destination. Inside the simple walls of the shop, Lu Yu praises the Fire Phoenix's rapid level ups, swearing that one day it'll be stronger than her beast. The lady steps through the glass door, politely asking for the manager's presence in the shop. Sensing outsiders, the harmless-looking little purple pet lets off a hidden wave of violence that heavily fills the entire floor and ceiling of the shop all at once. Under the crushing weight of an invisible force, the buyer freezes instantly, unable to move even a single muscle of her body. Our guy quickly calms his pet's rage and apologizes for the scare, stating that the purple pet hasn't fully mastered its new talents yet. Completely chill after surviving the heavy pressure, the woman is stunned, thinking that massive aura was actually just a natural reflex from the pet species. Keeping her academic style, the woman introduces her title as an instructor at the famous university for top-tier beast tamers in a solemn tone. Using a friendly voice, she calmly guesses that the person in front of her is undoubtedly the one everyone calls Manager Liu. The owner recalls the young female students praising his beasts, but tries to be humble, pointing out that his stock is far from the absolute peak. Skipping the long pleasantries, the expert firmly asks if he plays the hidden, almost godlike role described in legends as a mythical creator of ancient times. Our MC is caught completely off guard by the direct question, repeating the legendary term, while being completely oblivious to what she actually meant by it. Adopting her conversation style, he flashes his signature smirk, hinting that if she wants to believe that, he'll gladly take on the title without further delay. Scanning his private screen, our guy checks the breeding feature, figuring out that accepting this mythical status would bring in some serious cash. The mysterious customer blinks in confusion, listening to the young manager's vague words, not quite catching the subtle meaning behind his response. With a long sigh, she accepts the fact that such mystical beings usually don't share details of this scale with strangers who just knocked on their door. Lu Yu ends the confusing chat by asking if she wants to buy a baby animal matching her skills if she hasn't filled her fourth open slot yet. Seeing a chance for some sweet profits, the boy spots a high-paying target standing right in front of his counter. Using his usual smooth tamer charm, he politely asks her to share all the details of what she's looking for in her search for that perfect beast. The professor explains her situation, showing her goal to reach divine levels by focusing on dragon species, wanting to lock in that exact bond soon. Intrigued by this specific request, he asks if she is a member of the three big clans that monopolize those massive magical reptiles. The instructor takes a heavy hit from the question, swallowing her discomfort before firing back with a very specific, cryptic answer. Bitter memories rush back, showing the moment she heard a family leader coldly write her off because of her low divine talent as a kid, bringing shame to her family. Her critic stomped on her dignity, comparing her to other kids and calling her useless, leaving her deeply humiliated to her core. Shaking off those toxic memories, the teacher stands tall, firmly stating that her roots have absolutely zero connection to those families. Scratching his head, he gets it, nodding that he accidentally hit a sore spot packed with deep rich family trauma. Being completely honest, He apologizes and explains that his current shelves don't have any of those massive reptiles in stock right now. However, moving fast, he pulls out a wet container, showing the absolute truth that he holds a beast from the noblest lineage around. Annoyed by his confidence, she warns him to stop lying, since everyone knows the high society blocked regular markets from getting those giant dragons. Hearing this, our guy pulls up his screen and summons his dark baby dragon, betting his reputation that he only sells the real deal. The teacher shakes with anxiety, stunned as the light hits the terrifying dark silhouette moving freely under his feet. Capitalizing on her shock, our guy points at his pet, demanding she take a close look at the beast that runs his shop's economy. Curious and a bit scared of what might be locked in that container, she steps closer, asking if it's realistic for a legend to live in a simple jar. But looking through the water, she sees nothing but a modest red fish swimming alone in the tank. Feeling insulted by the joke, which completely ruined her respect as a senior master, she angrily asks if he's trying to sell her some cheap market fish. Huffing with rage at his sarcasm, the academic demands to know if his picker made a mistake, or if he's just flat out lying to her face. The shop owner taps the glass, completely unfazed, swearing that his stock is perfect and will bring great profits to both of them right now. Having zero patience left, she points out that the local street markets sell these exact fish for pennies. Keeping his cool, he smiles, asking what her ancient history books say about fish that broke through divine gates to become myths. The lady remembers the lost legends of common fish gaining massive powers after crossing that sacred boundary. Our MC praises her memory, noting that her knowledge is exactly why she deserves her high-ranking job at the country's top university. Still skeptical, she shuts down the debate, claiming those transdimensional legends have been lost to humanity for centuries. Holding up the tiny wet pet, the shopkeeper makes his final move, asking how she would react if he proved he could make that legend happen right now. Taken aback by his bold wager, the noble master freezes, wondering if this is just some massive end of shift prank. Holding the tiny red fins carefully, the young man tells her there's no pressure, pointing her to other shops, but she snaps and demands to make the deal. Moving incredibly fast, she doesn't waste a second, pulling up her screen to transfer the wet container to her tamer space. Locking in the sacred bonds, the screen flashes, confirming her natural talent broke the limits to unlock royal dragon blood in the pet. Blown away by the massive power flowing through her bond, she celebrates, realizing the old tale of the red fish mutation was actual fact. Super excited, she smiles wide, claiming this insane race evolution is the most amazing thing she has ever seen in her life. Instantly, she humbles herself, admitting she let her pride get the best of her when she walked into his shop. Bowing deeply to the young master, she formally apologizes for her rude words and unfair doubts. Blushing at her formal bow, Luyu rubs his cheek, muttering that he didn't even notice her previous attitude anyway. Standing tall again, the professor asks if he would be willing to help her out with a little issue regarding her clothes. She explains she has some extra outfits stashed in her car and needs the beast shopkeeper to help her fetch them from the dark trunk. The young man agrees to help, rushing out to fetch her bags in a flash. Walking on the concrete, his mind races with silly thoughts of getting busted for some weird misunderstanding with his customer. Out on the street, Lu Yu speeds up to prevent any sudden drama, avoiding drawing any unwanted attention from the local cops. He opens the luxury car's trunk and easily finds the bag, concluding this must be the fancy outfit she wanted. Holding the bag, our guy sprints back to his shop as fast as his legs can carry him to deliver her clothes and wrap up this favor. After a bit, Lu Yu returns, collapsing onto his comfy office chair while she changes her clothes behind closed doors. Dressed in her fresh outfit, the professor walks back to the counter, showing her deep gratitude for his quick help. Shrugging off the praise, Lu Yu asks if she has figured out a diet plan to evolve her tiny red fish into a massive dragon. Lost in thought, the lady notes that her current divine partners focus on water, heavy metals, and wind elements across her contracted slots, so she decides to go all out and test a brand new elemental build on her tiny mutant fish. Reaching into her bag, the master chooses to use a glowing crystal packed with lightning element power. Without hesitating, she tosses the purple gem straight into the water where the red fish is swimming around. The pet devours the gem instantly, sparking a wild electrical reaction that sends sparks flying through the water. Suddenly, a massive purple arch appears in the shop, proving the ancient legends of the Dragon Gate are actually real. Sensing the heavy pressure, our MC's baby dragon wakes up angry, growling at the threat coming from the portal. Calmly, our guy pets the little dragon's head, telling it to relax and let the evolution process happen in peace. Worried by the dragon's sudden anger, the buyer asks if something went wrong with the evolution process. The manager assures her everything is fine, telling her to focus on the target, which calms her nerves and lets the deal go smoothly. The two of them stare at the massive lightning arch, which is blasting terrifying divine energy all over the room. Violent lightning bolts crash against the arch, making the glowing structure look even more majestic. Lu Yu warns her that the breakthrough is about to start once the fish leaps, through this magical boundary. Pointing at the tank, the teacher commands her fish to leap out of the water toward the sky without holding back. Following her command, the little red fish starts its frantic climb, breaking through the water's surface. The tiny monster leaps out of the tank, wrapped inside a massive protective water bubble. Floating high near the ceiling, the water bubble carries the pet closer to the purple lightning clouds near the portal. A series of heavy lightning strikes hit the water bubble, slowing its climb and draining its speed. Worried by the slowdown, the buyer asks why it stopped, but the manager calmly reassures her that everything is going according to plan. He explains that these dimensional gates test the pet's natural limits, requiring her to use her own energy as a boost to complete the leap. Realizing her true strength, our MC admits to himself that he majorly underestimated the professor's actual power level. Gathering a massive wave of healing energy in her hands, the customer begs her fish to give its absolute all to cross the line. Boosted by her magic, the water bubble charges forward at full speed, smashing straight into the purple lightning gate. The little fish spins wildly inside a crazy water vortex as it undergoes a rapid mutation in the middle of the shop. Standing strong, the owners command the little fighter to break its limits and cross the line without hesitating. Passing through the portal, the fish undergoes an incredible transformation, growing wings and fire in the middle of the magic. The beast crosses the gate glowing in golden light, and the teacher cheers, realizing the legendary evolution was a total success. Hit by a wave of heavy magical energy, the woman is shocked to feel her own taming levels suddenly shoot up. Our guy explains that this massive evolution boosted her own spiritual energy as a master. The sudden boost leaves her completely speechless, struggling to process her new power level. Suddenly, massive orange wings burst from her back, making her scream in absolute shock and terror at her new look. A massive, scaly crimson dragon appears in the air, proving its status as a legendary lightning dragon. The massive beast hovers silently behind her, displaying its monarch tier status on the system screen. Looking at her pet, she praises its massive size but notes a slight disappointment that it's not a traditional pure dragon. Our guy explains that this species traces its roots back to ancient water serpents rather than pure dragons. Gesticulating, he explains the split between the massive lizard-type dragons and the serpent-type dragons. The professor figures that she can eventually evolve the serpent into a true dragon once it reaches the overlord rank. With greed in his eyes, the shopkeeper asks for 5 million to cover the beast's cost. Waiting for her to make the transfer, dropping the cash in a flash on her phone, the teacher runs out of the shop before the kid can realize he undercharged her. Skipping the goodbyes, she yells farewell and bolts out the door. Alone again, the tamer pets his tiny dragon, asking if it's growling is because it wants to evolve next after seeing the portal. The system screen pops up, explaining that the lightning gate left behind ancient essences that can boost his pet's power. Excited, the little beast growls, breaking its physical limits and unlocking hidden talents in a flash. The blue screen confirms the pet reached the star rank, boosting its potential to the red star tier. Looking at the data, the young man laughs in satisfaction, celebrating his partner's rapid growth. As night falls, the busy city streets go quiet under the silver moonlight, bathing the Liu clan's massive estate. Relaxing on her comfy armchair, the teacher sighs, thinking her wild day felt like some crazy dream after bonding with her new dragon. Hearing footsteps in the hallway, she gets alert, wondering who would ring her doorbell this late at night. Opening the door, she finds her senior academic advisor, who asks what kind of trouble she's gotten into. The old master smiles politely, asking if his late night visit is disturbing her rest. Shrugging off the worry, the girl invites her respected mentor inside to escape the cold night air. Sitting down, the veteran tutor asks how her first day of classes went and what updates she has. The teacher praises her class, revealing she found 2 rare prodigies who deserve special attention. Hooked by the story, the old man asks to know more about these students who managed to impress her so much. The instructor shares the names Du Royan and Shen Nianian, explaining their pets have unlimited mutant evolution potential. The old tutor's eyes go wide in shock, listening to the details of these rare, high-potential beasts. The senior leader confidently states that these young tamers will surely bring glory and protection to their country in the future. On that note, Lu Lucian admits she bought a pet from that same shop, which evolved from a common fish to an overlord tier beast. The old man screams in shock, unable to believe a beast of that caliber was just sold in a regular shop. In his excitement, the old tutor grabs her shoulders, begging to see the legendary beast right now. Moving quickly, the woman summons her lightning dragon, filling the room with electric energy. The massive magical beast appears, exalting a heavy, menacing aura that lights up the room. Kneeling under the dragon's pressure, the old master is mesmerized, noting that serpent-type dragons usually only live in the royal dragon realms. But he quickly cuts his rambling, asking if all these rare, high-potential beasts really came from that same small pet shop. The lady confirms it, pointing out the incredibly low prices, suggesting the seller is trying to build a new generation of genius tamers. The school leader is left speechless, struggling to process the existence of a shop selling beasts of this caliber. Taking advantage of the topic, the teacher asks if he believes a truly legendary tamer is about to emerge in their generation. The old master firmly states that no human in the world currently has the power to control that kind of taming talent. However, he sadly recalls how the ancient race of creators was wiped out by a destructive absolute power in the past. He reasons that the return of these ancient powers could either bring salvation or lead to absolute destruction. Facing these doubts, the instructor wonders about the true power level of the mysterious young shopkeeper. Scared of drawing government heat to the young man, she decides to keep his secret safe to protect him from trouble. Changing the subject, she suggests sending their trusted young tamers to test the shop's beasts by buying them. This strategy would also serve to build a friendly relationship with the mysterious merchant. The leader strokes his chin, agreeing with her plan and deciding to follow her advice. As morning breaks, the pet shop's glowing sign lights up in the warm sunlight of the busy street. Inside, Lu Yu checks his screen, excited to see the bonus rewards unlocked by his sales milestones. Having saved up a ton of resources, our guy figures running this shop will be the easiest job in the universe. He makes a call, offering 17 million to buy the shop's physical building on the spot. On the other end, the old landlord, Mr. Jiang, rejects the offer, trying to milk more money out of the kid. The seller checks the market rates, realizing his offer is already way higher than any other shop in the area. The greedy landlord smiles, thinking the kid is desperate and planning to squeeze every penny out of him. Rude as ever, the landlord tells him to shut up and hangs up, swearing to show up at the shop in person. Annoyed, the teenager puts down his phone, disgusted by the landlord's extreme greed and lack of character. Meanwhile, two well-dressed young men walk down the street, heading toward the pet shop. The blonde one looks at the humble shop, asking if this simple place is really the shop their grandfather recommended. His silver-haired brother replies that true masters hide in simplicity, ignoring flashy displays of wealth. Walking in, Lu Yu greets them with a warm smile, asking if they need any help finding a pet. The blonde brother asks to speak directly with the manager, explaining they want to buy some high-tier beasts. Keeping it cool, our MC reveals that he is indeed the sole owner and manager of the shop. The customers are shocked, having assumed such a young guy was just a simple intern or assistant. The silver-haired brother explains they are the heirs of the academy's rector, but unfortunately, they awakened very low-tier talents. Intrigued, the seller asks them to explain exactly what these weak talents of theirs are. The blonde brother explains his talent boosts growth speed, while his brother's talent adds slashing physical power to pets. The shopkeeper crosses his arms, explaining that the growth talent is perfect to build a massive army of pets. The blonde lights up, recalling legends of tamers who controlled massive hordes to crush their enemies. For the silver-haired brother, our hero suggests a pet with heavy physical and offensive power. The customer sighs, complaining they've never been able to find a pet that fits that description. Cutting the small talk, the merchant slams 2 glass jars onto the counter with a quick click. He points to the jars, inviting the brothers to take a close look at the available beasts. The blonde leans in, staring into the jars, completely confused by what he's seeing. Disappointed, he asks where the legendary beasts he promised are hidden. His brother agrees, pointing out that the jars look completely empty from top to bottom. The shop owner simply tells them to focus their gaze on the very bottom of the glass jars. Intrigued, the brothers lean in close to the counter, trying to spot the hidden secret inside. The blonde lets out a loud gasp of shock, realizing the beast is actually just a tiny, common-looking ant. While his brother mocks the tiny bug, the other asks the owner if these little ants actually have any hidden powers. The MC smirks, explaining that these female ants have awakened a god-tier talent that allows infinite mutant evolution. Under their care, the ants can mutate into any form the owner desires, as long as they guide their growth correctly. He displays the evolution charts on the screen, showing the ready-to-use paths for the new owners to test. Touching the jars, the brothers feel a sudden surge of magical energy, proving the pets have massive growth potential. Overjoyed, the blonde brother celebrates, realizing his aunt can become a queen to spawn a massive army of star-class beasts. Meanwhile, his brother is mesmerized, seeing that his aunt can evolve into a legendary, world-shredding beast. Extremely grateful for the opportunity, the duo bows deeply to Lu Yu, thanking him for his massive help. The shopkeeper simply tells them to take good care of the pets, explaining that seeing their evolution is the best payment he could ask for. Turning back to a screen, he plans to build massive alliances that will shake the tamer world in the future. Suddenly, his phone starts vibrating wildly on the desk. He picks it up, wondering who is calling to interrupt his peace after hours. The landlord, Mr. Jiang, screams through the phone, ordering our guy to come out and welcome him at the door. Completely unfazed, the young tamer tells the fat man to just walk in, mentioning he's waiting by the counter. The landlord storms down the street, losing his temper and screaming at the kid for refusing his terms on the deal. However, our MC calmly fires back, telling the fat man his greed won't work here and refusing to sign any unfair deals. The fat landlord barges into the shop with heavy steps, screaming that he won't let some brat ruin his business. Our protagonist calmly states that he is now a registered, official beast tamer, meaning he's protected by the guild. Gesticulating wildly, the landlord walks in with a smug face, claiming he has powerful connections that can shut the shop down. The silver-haired brother steps in front of the landlord, warning that he will handle the shop's purchase. With a smug grin, Misogine claims the price is now 30 million coins. The blonde gets angry, calling the landlord a greedy pig for doubling the price. Crossing his arms, the man scoffs, saying it's his building and he can charge whatever he wants. He laughs, telling the kids to get lost if they don't have the cash. Furious, the silver-haired brother steps up, asking who gave him permission to insult Senior Lou. He turns to our MC asking for permission to take care of this annoying fat man once and for all. Keeping his cool, Lu Yu simply advises them to handle it quietly to not bother the neighbors. The young hare calls out for Uncle Chen, and a tall, buff man in a suit instantly appears at the door. Unfazed, the landlord boasts that he's a trained fighter nobody can beat. Suddenly, the buff guard grabs the fat man by the shoulder, leaving him terrified. Uncle Chen turns to his young master, asking how they should handle this bully. With a cold look, the hare orders him to teach the guy a lesson so he learns some respect. The strong guard nods, understanding his young boss's order perfectly. Panicking, the fat man tries to break free, screaming that he has powerful backers in the city. Laughing at the weak threat, the blonde asks if he've ever heard of the powerful Duan family. Hearing that name, the landlord panics, realizing he just messed with the strongest taming clan in the country. The other brother smugly confirms it, letting him know he has zero chance of escaping. Without wasting time, the young master orders the guard to take the blackmailer outside. Dragged out of the shop, the man cries on his knees, begging for mercy and apologizing for his huge mistake. Finally, the customer offers to help Lu Yu get the shop building for free, which our MC gladly accepts. Watching the street, Lu Yu's phone buzzes with a text saying the deed transfer is already done. Reading the text from the Duan family, he confirms the fat man agreed to transfer the property for $0. Instantly, the system assistant pops up, celebrating his first official shop ownership. A beautiful blue star-shaped gem hovers in front of our guy as his secret system reward. The AI explains that this realm crystal core is the most valuable item on Earth, capable of creating a new spiritual world. Hyped by the news, the shopkeeper notes that tamers with this space gain power rivaling Semidiods. The virtual assistant lets him know he can start refining the core to expand his tamer space. With this, our guy releases a massive blue energy, wrapping the hovering gem in a perfect cube of light. A massive flash of light consumes the room, leaving absolute silence as the space completely changes. Amazed by the futuristic vibe, the young man spreads his arms, feeling the massive power in his new space. In moments, the gray space turns into a gorgeous green plain with flowers and trees under a clear blue sky. A loud roar echoes through the new world as his demon dragon appears, showing off its massive scaly body. The blue screen confirms his dark pet broke through its limits, reaching the 3rd level of the star class. Right after, the imperial bird also glows in purple flames, reaching the 2nd level of the star class. Wrapping up, the assistant congratulates our hero on his pet's learning new red, star grade skills. The screen details the dragon's new skill, which can summon a domain that crushes any opponent. Clenching his fist in joy, the shopkeeper gets hyped, seeing his partner's unlimited growth potential. Next, the screen shows the bird's skill, which can rain down eternal flames from the sky. Smirking, our guy concludes that this fire matches the most destructive forbidden spells on Earth. The two powerful beasts stand proudly behind their master in the quiet shop, ready for action. Suddenly, our MC's face goes serious as he senses a mysterious presence approaching the entrance. He slowly turns toward the door, watching an elderly silhouette slowly walking in with a wooden cane. As the light hits his face, Rector Duan Shanguo politely introduces himself, greeting our young shopkeeper. With a quick wave, our guy recalls his 2 pets and politely asks the reason for his honorable visit. Thinking quietly, Lu Yu deduces the old man came in peace, since he sent his own grandkids to buy pets yesterday. Still, the shopkeeper keeps his guard up, wondering about the rector's true motive. Staring at the boy, the visitor senses a dark intent far more terrifying than any demon king. But the old man notes the boy's outer style is extremely gentle, contrasting with that heavy hidden energy. He concludes he must win the trust of this mysterious expert to keep the country safe. Taking the initiative, the rector says he came for a serious chat, and our guy asks if he also wants to buy a pet. With a sigh, the rector reveals that years of brutal battles destroyed his tamer space, preventing him from making new bonds. Our MC is confused, asking who came up with the lie that a broken space stops you from contracting new beasts. Shocked, the old man points out that this is basic facts taught in every school textbook in the country. Intrigued by our guy's confidence, the visitor adjusts his glasses, asking if the young master actually has a solution. Smiling friendly, the shopkeeper guarantees that fixing a broken space is actually an easy job. With that, he opens a portal and pulls out a tiny glass box with a green sprout, asking the guest to check it out. Our guy holds out the tiny glowing object, leaving the senior rector highly curious about this new item. Looking closely, the old man is completely stunned, unable to figure out what this plant actually is. The seller explains it's a common seed of a leafy tree, the lowest grade plant monster around. He adds that the sprout has a rare skill to graft any evolution path into its lineage. Showing the projection, the shopkeeper pulls up a blue screen to present the exclusive evolution path he designed for that seed. The old man watches the hologram showing the transformation of the ordinary plant into the legendary, void-suppressing giant tree. Explaining the details, the young man guarantees this immense mystical tree will be able to stabilize and rebuild the Dean's broken domain. He wraps up by saying all of the visitors' worries and fears will completely vanish once the creature's evolution is complete. But the old man sadly lowers his head, thanking the seller for his immense kindness, while declining the help with a disheartened sigh. The Dean continues walking through the shop, firmly stating he has no plans of signing a contract with another beast for the rest of his life. The shopkeeper is taken aback by this sudden decision and asks why he is so resistant to accepting a new battle partner. Internally, our main character grumbles, totally annoyed that he wasted his precious time designing a flawless evolution path just to get rejected. The old man explains that over several decades, he personally sent each of his 9 partners into the world's absolute worst battlefields. He sadly laments that forcing a beast to fight and suffer for the sake of humans is an act of extreme cruelty he never wants to repeat. Glancing at the green sprout, the veteran suggests that an item with such great potential should be given to young tamers who are just starting out. Lost in thought, the MC admits to himself that he usually would have kicked out any annoying customer by now, but he has deep respect for the Dean. He recalls all the legends about the immense sacrifices the old man made to protect their country during the great crisis that once hit the nation. Right then, memories of the past reveal the terrible era when interdimensional rifts tore open, unleashing hordes of giant monsters. Being the weakest nation among the great powers, the Shia territory took the absolute brunt of the attack from these dark creatures. On the verge of total destruction, the government acted fast and set up 9 defensive lines to try and halt the enemy's advance on the battlefield. In just 3 years, the first barrier collapsed, quickly followed by the second and third, leaving the territory completely exposed to the invasion. At that critical moment of national survival, every single tamer in the country answered the call to fight on the most brutal battlefields. As the nation's highest-ranking general, Duan Shanguo took direct command of the troops and formed contracts with 9 sovereign-tier beasts. However, each of his 9 monsters fell defending the country, shattering his taming space due to the agonizing pain of losing those soul bonds. Right in the middle of that completely shattered taming domain, the old man's very last pet collapsed, lifeless, onto the cracked ground. Because of that, Duan Xianguo's majestic lion spent decades guarding the university, never again able to return to its master's ruined spiritual home. Witnessing the national hero's lingering grief, Lu Yu realizes he can't just ignore this deep sadness and decides to help out somehow. So, the young man reassures the visitor, telling him he shouldn't carry that guilt alone, as the pressure on the front lines back then was simply insane. Regretting his painful past, Duan Xianguo recalls that the battlefield was a literal lethal trap where he only survived by sheer luck. But he sadly remembers that the names of so many other comrades in arms who sacrificed themselves ended up completely forgotten by the public. Staring at his customer, Lu Yu seriously points out that the real cause of all this accumulated pain and regret boils down to just one single thing. Intrigued, the Dean adjusts his glasses, curious to know what this major reason could possibly be. The shopkeeper states bluntly that he simply wasn't strong enough to change their destiny back then. He goes on to say that if Duan Xiangao had possessed the power to make their enemies tremble, not a single life would have had to be sacrificed. Shocked by the harsh truth, the old man reflects that he had completely hit a wall after reaching the 10th level of the sovereign rank, with zero hope of advancing. However, our MC reveals that placing a void giant tree seed into that broken space will make any future evolution incredibly easy. He explains that the mystical plant will be able to draw energy directly from the void itself to continuously expand his entire taming domain. Hearing this bold plan, Duan Shanguo realizes he might finally have the power he needs to protect everyone he cares about from here on out. With that, he admits his advanced age had made his vision far less clear than that of the young shopkeeper. Faced with this incredible offer, the Dean asks the shopkeeper for the price of the seed, completely determined to make the purchase. Holding the glowing box, Lu Yu announces that the rare item will cost exactly 3 million. Right at that moment, the virtual assistant pops up on the interface, congratulating our guy for reaching the milestone of 10 pets sold in the shop. The AI announces that the reward for hitting this milestone is a brand new, max level talent called the Divine Fountain of Life. It explains that this supreme life-type power is capable of completely erasing any pain, disease, or even the ultimate demise of the tamer. Accepting the advice, Duan Xianggo plans to evolve the seed before sealing the final contract with his new partner. He places the mystical seed on the counter to begin the process. The old man then pours a glowing liquid over the item and commands the evolution to start. A massive burst of green energy floods the room as Duan Xianggo channels all of his strength into the seed. The scene shifts directly into his taming domain, revealing a floating volcanic landscape filled with deep, gaping cracks. Suddenly, the glowing seed drops straight onto the ruined ground of the old man's spiritual realm. The sprout hits the cracked earth, releasing thin beams of vibrant green energy. Massive roots begin to burst out, aggressively spreading through every single crevice in the terrain. A colossal tree shoots up, instantly unleashing its full mystical power and reaching the 10th level of the sovereign rank. Watching this rapid growth, the Dean is completely awestruck to see his new partner evolve at such lightning speed. Extending his hand toward the glowing magic circle, Duan Xianggo initiates the final soul pact with the giant tree. Thick green branches keep expanding, spreading life energy to every single corner of that broken world. The plant's immense power completely wraps the volcanic terrain in a glowing cocoon of pure spiritual energy. With that, the entire taming space fully regenerates and expands into a gorgeous, thriving plain under the Dean's command. Crying tears of pure joy, the old man celebrates finally having his spiritual domain completely restored after so many years of suffering. The MC congratulates him on the successful contract and says he will now leave his client's mind to head back to the real world. As soon as they return to the shop, Duan Xianggo asks the young man to wait a second before closing up. Intrigued by the sudden request, Lu Yu turns around to ask if the old man needs any more help from his establishment. The Dean asks if the shopkeeper would be interested in joining the staff at the city's prestigious Tamer University. Thoughtful, the young man remembers being rejected during the exams just 2 months ago, and is stunned to receive a direct invite from the Dean himself. However, he politely turns down the offer, saying he prefers to focus on his own business at the pet shop. He adds that the busy academic schedule of a student would only get in the way of his career plans. Adjusting his glasses, Duan Xianggo clears up the misunderstanding, explaining that the invitation is actually for the young man to become a professor. He adds that, due to administrative red tape, the shopkeeper could start out first as an official instructor for the institution. Lu Yu is completely dumbfounded by the proposal, remembering that only sovereign-level warriors are qualified for such a prestigious role. Seeing his hesitation, the old man suggests he can pull some strings with the other instructors to secure a vice-dean position for the young man. He even jokes that he's willing to retire early just to hand over the leadership seat of the institution to him. Our MC reflects that it would be a total lie to say he isn't tempted by the offer, but he weighs the potential risks involved. But he quickly realizes that the position would bring massive prestige to his business, wiping away any worries about selling future pets. Making up his mind, Lu Yu accepts the offer, on the condition that his class hours don't clash with the operating hours of his shop. The Dean is absolutely thrilled and agrees to the condition without a second thought. He adds that the professor position will grant the young man the right to apply for millions in government's scientific research grants. The shopkeeper gets incredibly excited, imagining research funds that could easily hit the mark of hundreds of millions of coins. He daydreams about the mountain of cash he's going to make between salaries, monthly bonuses, and dividends from the renowned university. Not to mention getting free access to a library packed with rare scrolls, and even the institution's private secret realm. Once outside, the young man marvels at how crazy fate can be, turning him into an instructor at the country's greatest academy. The scene focuses on the massive, modern facade of the Tamer University glowing under the bright moonlight. Leaning on the balcony, Professor Lu Lucian gazes into the night, anxious to know the outcome of her beloved master's visit to the pet shop. Suddenly, she notices a strange greenish glow flashing right in the middle of the family estate's courtyard. The woman squints in surprise, realizing that such intense energy could only be the legendary active evolution glow. In the middle of the courtyard, the platinum-haired young man finds his younger brother kneeling on the ground, playing with a small, glowing bug. The blonde young man, Duan Dongwen, reveals that he plans to fuse his talent's core directly with the queen ant. He explains confidently that this mystical fusion will skyrocket the growth speed of both of them. The brother worriedly warns that this permanent pact will prevent him from making any new contracts, and if the pet goes down, his tamer powers will go with it. But Duan Dongwen just smiles, ignoring the risks, and states he doesn't care about losing his tamer title if his partner falls in battle. Watching the scene from afar, Professor Lu Lucian is deeply impressed by the incredible determination shown by the young heir. She praises Duan Dongwen's attitude, proud to see him acting like a truly worthy grandson of the dean. Later, she walks with her mentor, asking him to take it easy, but the old man snaps back that he's feeling much better thanks to the shopkeeper. The woman's eyes go wide in absolute shock upon hearing that the old man's spiritual space has been completely restored. The dean smiles, confirming the success, and challenges his student to guess the miraculous method young Lu Yu used. She bites her lip thoughtfully, suggesting the young man must have offered some incredibly rare, high-level healing resource. Laughing at her guess, the mentor reveals that the young man actually had him sign a contract with a colossal, tree-type beast. The vivid memory of the massive green trunk rising within his spiritual space flashes profoundly through the old man's mind. He explains that the mystical tree stabilized his ruined world, giving him hope of returning to the absolute peak of his military strength. Finally, Duan Shango tells her she doesn't need to worry anymore, as he has gained enough vitality to live for another 300 years. Laughing and clapping happily, Professor Liu Lushan is overjoyed to hear the amazing news about the shopkeeper. At that, Dean Duan Shango shares that he extended a special invitation for the young man to become an official instructor at their prestigious university. Completely stunned by the revelation, the woman asks with wide eyes if the invite is actually for real. Hearing this, the young Duan siblings cheer excitedly, demanding on the spot to attend his classes and become his direct students. Meanwhile, in his own massive taming domain, Lu Yu floats peacefully, surrounded by his two powerful elite monsters. He reflects that possessing 3 incredible max-level talents just to draw energy would be an absolute waste. With that in mind, our MC considers fusing each of his special abilities directly with their corresponding beasts. One idea is to merge the demon dragon with his darkness talent, turning his scaly partner into the feared king of the dark underworld. Another option would be to fuse his imperial avian with divine fire, pushing the mystical bird to a god-tier level of destruction. However, the young man notices that his third talent, life, still has no partner, deciding it's high time to recruit a plant-type pet. Right then, the shopkeeper opens the system interface and notes with excitement that he has accumulated over 1,200 reward points. He smiles, highly motivated, thinking about redeeming a pet even more formidable than his current 2 companions. He quickly decides to choose a plant-type beast to stabilize his massive taming domain and pair perfectly with his life talent. Instantly, the holographic assistant appears on the blue screen, presenting the rare beast options available for that point range. The interface lists 4 great sacred tree options, detailing the legendary potential of each one. The AI explains that the elven mother tree can spawn an entire tribe by consuming a few rare resources. But our MC scratches his head and passes on the option, thinking that raising an entire race of elves wouldn't be very practical for him. He analyzes the sacred star tree, which helps revive entire planets, but concludes it isn't of much use to him right now. Looking at the giant war tree, the young man notes that it can spawn armies of aggressive monsters, right in the middle of battle. Frowning, the shopkeeper rejects the choice immediately, finding that power a bit too sinister for a righteous gentleman. So, the shopkeeper turns his full attention to the last option on the list, which displays the powerful ancient tree of life. He notices that the plant's mere presence banishes any trace of decay from the territory, filling the entire area with pure vitality. Satisfied that it pairs perfectly with his special life skill, the young man taps the blue button to claim the creature. The system confirms the exchange and deducts the points, leaving the shopkeeper to watch the area glow with beams of green energy. A dark, mystical seed appears floating in the middle of a powerful, vibrant aura, showing off an immense amount of stored life force. Curious about his new pet specs, our MC decides to check the newly acquired items attribute panel. The holographic screen reveals that the sprout belongs to the Sacred Spirit class and possesses rare plant and life attributes. Reading the info, Lu Yu discovers that the nurturing talent allows him to create small monsters that are completely loyal to him. On top of that, the tree's first active skill can speed up the growth of any plant in just a matter of seconds. His eyes go wide as he realizes this divine power will make it incredibly easy to produce rare fruits that are worth a fortune on the market. He rubs his hands together, hyped up, already daydreaming about the millions he'll rake in by selling these mystical fruits. Next, the interface details the second power of the tree, which creates a divine domain capable of instantly healing any injury. Tapping the screen, the young man reads about the third power, projection, which allows his partner to fight with full strength outside of the taming space. The shopkeeper moves on to the last skill, called Star Slicing Grass, curious about the attack's actual effect. The virtual panel explains that the technique can cultivate a razor, sharp herb capable of slicing through the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky. Blown away by how insanely broken this is, the MC praises the system for delivering such a formidable creature for just 1,200 points. He scratches his head with a grin, happy to have gained an all-rounder partner that works as a support, a damage dealer, and a resource supplier. Wasting no time, Lu Yu extends his hand, which glows with a vibrant green light, and commands the final contract with the floating seed to begin. Thick beams of green energy wrap around the sprout, accelerating the plant's growth in a spectacular display. A loud rumble echoes through the area as a colossal, glowing tree shoots up right in the middle of his spiritual plane. Suddenly, the young man clutches his chest, startled as a massive wave of power courses through his body without warning. With that, the young man realizes that the pact with the sacred tree has boosted his strength so much that he is about to break through a new limit. Just then, a sweet, soft voice calls out to him, making the young man look around in confusion, trying to find where the sound came from. A glowing vortex of green petals and leaves begins to spin intensely right in front of the stunned MC. A gorgeous little girl with white hair and a green dress emerges, floating in the middle of the light, radiating a mystical and angelic aura. Our main guy is left speechless, staring at the visitor, wondering if she is the physical personification of the Tree of Life. Right on cue, the interface confirms that this clone possesses all the incredible skills of the plant and can travel freely through the outside world. Pointing at the girl, our MC asks her directly if she really is his new legendary partner. With a sweet smile, the sprite hops slightly in the air, happily confirming her true identity as the mystical tree. She gently places her hand on her chest and asks her new master to affectionately call her Anu. The shopkeeper just repeats the name thoughtfully, agreeing to accept the young girl as his powerful new teammate. Suddenly, the girl steps closer and sweetly asks the young man to extend his hand and point his index finger at her. A thin thread of green light connects their fingers, sealing a very special mystical pact. The girl excitedly explains that she will use this spiritual mark to revive her master if he ever ends up in deadly peril. The young man is amazed by the resurrection effect, but the girl clarifies that the spell unfortunately cannot recover his triple SS-Rank talents. Lowering her head a bit disheartened, she warns that if he were to perish, her master would likely return as an ordinary person. With a serious expression, our MC reflects that he'd rather stay down for good than lose his 3 incredible supreme talents. But he quickly puts his pride aside and smiles, accepting the skill as an excellent extra safety net for his security. Luyu gently pats the sprite on the head, advising her to get used to her powers, and promising to prepare the seeds the following day. The little girl grins from ear to ear, replying with absolute joy that she will obey her master's every command. The seller waves from afar, saying goodbye to Anu and calmly mentioning that he is already leaving his spiritual taming domain. Instantly, the girl runs toward him and grabs the edge of his coat to stop him from leaving so soon. She asks with a begging look if her real body can stay in the magic domain while her clone travels right alongside him in the real world. Without hesitating for a single second, the shopkeeper flashes a smile and agrees to the idea, telling her she can enter and leave whenever she wants. The sprite sighs in relief at her owner's positive response, confessing she was worried about being rejected because her habits are a bit different. Luyu raises an eyebrow, completely baffled by the comment, having absolutely no clue what these habits could possibly be. Hours later, our MC settles comfortably under his bedsheets to enjoy a well-deserved, peaceful night's sleep. Suddenly, the white-haired girl slips under the covers right next to him, startling the shopkeeper half to death. He stares at her, frozen in the darkness, intensely understanding what she meant by that strange habit. The young sprite sadly confesses that she spent millions of years isolated as an ordinary seed, experiencing a terrible, deep loneliness. Looking at her master with teary eyes, she promises to stay super quiet and begs him not to kick her out. Moved by her sadness, the young man gently pats her head, reassuring her that she will never have to be lonely again. She smiles happily and tightly hugs her protector's arm before finally closing her eyes and falling asleep in peace. The next day dawns bright and sunny outside, illuminating the modern facade of the large local apartment complex. Upon waking up, Luyu desperately struggles to breathe, realizing the girl grew and wrapped herself completely around his body like a climbing vine. Gasping for air under her tight grip, the young man struggles and complains that he can't handle this suffocating situation any longer. At that, he manages to pull himself up and sees the little sprite clinging to his arm, asking what she is doing. Walking around the room with the partner still hanging onto him, the little girl curiously asks what her master is up to. So, the shopkeeper sits her down firmly and safely on the bed to make her finally let go of his arm. With that, Luyu complains crossly that he told her not to move around like that, since he nearly suffocated during the night. Sitting on the edge of the bed, the sprite lowers her head, apologetic, and says she's sorry for hugging her master so tightly without realizing it. With a puppy dog look, the little girl begs him not to be mad and promises she won't do it again next time. But the shopkeeper quickly cools down and suggests they head over to the taming space to check up on the growth of the ancient tree. Super excited by the idea, the little sprite jumps for joy and celebrates her master's decision. Scratching his head in worry, the young man wonders if he ended up adopting a plant partner, or if he's raising an actual daughter. As soon as they enter the spiritual space, they are greeted by gorgeous white flowers that have begun to bloom across the green plain. Looking at the grass, the young man notes in surprise that Anu has cultivated 10 blades of star, cutting grass up to the 10th transcendent level. He reflects that when the ancient tree advances in class, these star-slicing plants will also evolve right alongside it. With that, the shopkeeper concludes that the attack power of these companion herbs is absolutely terrifying for any enemy to face. He proudly estimates that even his two elite partners would have a tough time overcoming this plant force in battle. Suddenly, several purple thorny vines begin to rapidly coil around the tree's massive trunk. The climbing plants stretch toward the sky, showing off sharp thorns on their dark leaves. The shopkeeper smiles excitedly, explaining that this is the 1,000-star vine, a monster capable of binding any creature. At that, the girl points out that at her current level, she can only quickly cultivate platinum rank seeds, while higher ranks take longer. He pats her on the head and reassures his partner, saying he can easily buy rare seeds directly with cash. Chuckling, the young man questions why they should waste energy on things that can be easily solved with coins. With that, the shopkeeper decides to take the sprite out for a walk in the city to fix their inventory issues once and for all. Walking through the busy streets of the massive magic city, they pass by several luxurious pet shops all around them. Peering into high-end store displays featuring million-dollar price tags, the young man is amazed by the absurd variety of rare products on sale. The little sprite gets scared by the crowds, and Luyu tells her to stay glued to his side, so she doesn't end up getting lost. Soon, they step into a modern establishment specializing in the trade and cultivation of rare spiritual seeds and plants. Looking at the jars, the young man notes that while the seeds are cheap, the pre-grown saplings can cost tens of millions. He looks at the tiny seeds and reflects that their survival rate is far too low for ordinary tamers to cultivate them. However, he flashes a smug smile, knowing his partner's divine skill completely eliminates any risk of cultivation failure. Without hesitating, he decides to buy massive quantities of dark grass, shadow spirit fruit, flame flower, and white spark seeds. On top of that, the shopkeeper points to the shelf and demands 100 seeds of both the legendary underworld and purgatory trees. The chubby store manager bows politely and asks the customer to wait just a moment while he prepares the order. Clutching a black briefcase, the seller returns with the items and announces that the total came to 32 million with a nice discount. Taking his chance, the young man asks if official instructors from the renowned Tamer University get a discount on purchases. The manager confirms this and asks the young man to show his ID card to register the discount in the system. No problem at all. The MC presents his instructor card so the employee can quickly verify the data. The man slots the card into the computer under the watchful eye of the little sprite, who keeps completely quiet right next to her master. Upon seeing on his screen that the customer gets a 50% discount for being a full-time professor, the clerk almost falls backward in shock. Sweating bullets, the employee bows deeply, praising the young man as a true prodigy genius in the field of taming. Holding onto the shopkeeper's coat, the little sprite proudly lifts her head, declaring that her master is absolutely the most amazing person ever. With a casual smile, the young man just asks him to swipe the card already and finalize the purchase without any more delay at the counter. He walks toward the exit, reflecting that the dean acted incredibly fast to get all these massive professor benefits cleared. Suddenly, his partner excitedly pulls his coat and warns him she sensed the energy of an amethyst, rank spiritual seed in the shop. The shopkeeper stops in his tracks and turns around, intrigued to find where this highly valuable seed is hidden. Pointing to the wooden shelves in the back, the little girl guides the young man, indicating that the treasure must be stored around there. Digging through an old box, the little girl raises her hands happily, showing she finally found the item she was looking for. She approaches the chubby manager and curiously asks how much those 5 withered seeds she picked out would cost. The merchant scratches his head, puzzled, and warns her he was planning on throwing those seeds in the trash, asking if she really wants to buy them. With a beautiful smile on her face, the little sprite nods, confirming with absolute certainty that she wants to take them. The man reflects that, although they belong to a rare amethyst, rank space tree species, they are completely dried up and useless. The 5 completely withered, dark seeds rest lifeless on the delicate palm of the little girl in the green dress. At that, the chubby manager generously waves his hands and tells them they can have the seeds for free since they have 0 market value. Jumping with joy, the partner thanks the merchant immensely for his incredible kindness in giving her the gift. The shopkeeper internally celebrates getting seeds equivalent to diamond tier resources absolutely free of charge. Back in the massive spiritual taming domain, the duo gathers under the protective shadow of the great ancient tree of life. Holding all the purchased packages, the young man declares that the next step is to plant every single one of these seeds in the lush green soil. Within moments, the ground begins to glow intensely with a green energy that makes beautiful, rare flowers bloom across the grass. He watches the rapid growth and happily concludes that the tree's divine skill will make harvesting the fruits incredibly fast. With this, the young man reflects that he will have infinite resources to feed and strengthen his other 2 monsters without spending a single dime. However, the shopkeeper cuts his thoughts short when he hears a noise coming from the shop's entrance. Wondering if someone is out there, at that moment, the shopkeeper focuses his gaze in surprise at the glass door, realizing his first customer of the day has just walked in. A young man with glasses and a jacket timidly enters the establishment, thinking to himself that he has finally awakened his talent. He reflects with absolute determination that he would sell his own house if it meant finding a pet that truly caught his eye. With a welcoming gesture, our shopkeeper flashes a warm smile and greets the new customer who just arrived. The guy with glasses looks around hesitantly and timidly asks if the young shopkeeper is indeed the owner of the place. Confirming with a nod, the seller friendly asks what kind of pet the young man is looking to buy. The customer explains that he has a C-rank skill, which is why he wants a plant-type pet or one focused on the life attribute. Giving a confident smile, the shopkeeper raises his hand and materializes a small glass jar containing a glowing green sapling. The guy with glasses leans forward, impressed by the speed, and asks if he actually has the right creature right there in that container. The little jar displays a delicate green leaf floating in water, casting a soft, mysterious blue glow throughout the glass. Suddenly, the customer yells in a rage, calling it an absolute joke and accusing the shopkeeper of trying to rip him off with total garbage. He points his finger, accusing the young man of trying to sell an ordinary willow sprout, as if it were some elite battle pet. Keeping his cool, the seller reassures him that this special plant possesses the extremely rare, mutant gift of blood refining. He adds that the sprout can absorb the DNA of other beasts to unlock extraordinary evolutionary paths. The guy with glasses crosses his arms, completely stunned, admitting in thought that he has never even heard of such an insanely broken talent. Lu Yu calmly warns him that he has no time to waste, stating the willow sprout costs 3 million and telling the customer to leave if he doesn't want to buy it. At that, the guy with glasses screams in a fury that this is a massive scam, promising to report the shop directly to the Beast Tamer Association. To defend his owner, the MC's majestic black dragon suddenly emerges, letting out a terrifying roar right at the rude customer. Even though he is scared out of his mind by the giant beast, the man tries to keep his tough guy act and yells that he won't be intimidated by any threats in this shop. Unable to take the pressure any longer, the coward runs out the front door in a panic, swearing the shopkeeper will pay dearly for this. Watching the pathetic escape, Lu Yu just laments that people in this city can't recognize top-tier merchandise when they see it. Holding the small jar with the plant sprout, he hopes such a rare and valuable creature won't end up rotting on his hands for lack of a buyer. He remembers that the system set a strict deadline of just 1 week to sell the pet, getting worried about what will happen if nobody shows up in the next few days. So, the shopkeeper places the little plant pot on the counter to take a better look at the condition of this highly unique green sapling. Holding a small vial of red elixir, our main guy plans to ask for help from Dean Duan or Luo Tianyan if the sale really doesn't go through by the end of the week. Very carefully, the young man pours a few drops of that mysterious red liquid directly onto the leaves of the little sapling in the pot. Instantly absorbing the powerful essence, the plant sprout begins to radiate a strong, glowing energy, while the shopkeeper guarantees a bright future for the pet. The scene suddenly shifts to the grand and modern headquarters of the Beast Tamer Association. Standing tall and gleaming against the sunny sky. Consumed by rage, the runaway customer slams his hand on the reception desk, demanding to file a formal complaint under his own name to shut Lu Yu's shop down. Perfectly calm at her station, the receptionist adjusts her posture and politely asks who exactly he wishes to report. The customer yells angrily at her, claiming the shop is a total scam, charges absurdly inflated prices, and treats customers terribly. Keeping her professional attitude, the employee hands over a form and politely asks him to fill out his details and wait in the lobby. Holding the papers with a malicious smirk, the man vows to himself that he'll do whatever it takes to see the MC's shop go completely bankrupt. The scene shifts to show the grand, silent wooden door of the office of one of the supervising directors of the massive association. Inside the room, the secretary enters holding a clipboard, calling out to her boss to hand over some new paperwork. She seriously informs her boss that a citizen has just filed a formal complaint under his real name against a local shop. Grabbing the document, Supervisor Lua skims the papers and quickly realizes the name of the business and the complaint looks incredibly familiar. The report prominently highlights that the main target of the complaint is none other than the famous mythical beast shop, leaving the man stunned. He recalls that just the day before, Dean Duan had personally visited headquarters, asking the association to take extra special care of the young man's establishment. Sweating nervously at the memory, the supervisor remembers that the dean called the shop the absolute best in the city and demanded full protection for it. Slamming his fist on the desk with extreme force, the boss stands up, furious, wanting to know what clueless idiot decided to go and create problems for him. The director rushes down the hallways toward the lobby, where the guy in the jacket is sitting comfortably on one of the sofas, waiting. Approaching the four-eyed guy who is waiting on the couch, the supervisor greets him with an incredibly firm and serious posture. He asks him directly if he is indeed the one responsible for filing the formal complaint against the mythical beast shop. The customer stands up with an arrogant smirk, demanding they speed up the process so that supposed scammer stops polluting the market. Supervisor Lu Ya clarifies that the condition of the beasts and the shop's reputation are flawless, and that even Dian Duan himself highly praised the place. Staring him down in an intimidating way, the association leader seriously asks if the complaint is nothing but a lie cooked up by the young man. Utterly speechless to find out the shopkeeper has such insanely influential allies, the guy with glasses freezes, completely unable to act before the director. Sweating from sheer nerves, the accuser stammers out an apology, claiming it might all be a misunderstanding, and expressing his desire to cancel the complaint right away. Pointing his finger, the supervisor warns him that false accusations lead to 3 days of jail time, but decides to let it slide since it is his first offense. Shaking with fear, the liar bows deeply in agreement with the lecture, vehemently promising he will never do something so stupid again. Immediately, the coward scrambles to grab his things, desperate to escape the guild supervisor's wrath. Deep in thought, Supervisor Lui considers taking his own son to the MC shop, seeing how highly recommended the place is. The scene quickly cuts to the busy streets of the vast magic metropolis under a bright sun that lights up the modern buildings. Walking slowly down the sidewalk, a girl drags her suitcase behind her, lamenting that she is a complete failure who can't do anything right in life. Sadly, she remembers failing the university exam, not awakening any talent at all, and having her pay stolen by her own mother. The painful memory shows her angry mother yelling about how hard she worked to raise her, questioning how the girl planned to pay the bills with so little work. Overwhelmed by deep sorrow from her mother's cruel words, the young girl stops in her tracks, completely out of energy to keep going. She continues her slow walk down the avenue's sidewalk, gazing up at the majestic gates of the local Tamer Academy. Before leaving for good, the girl is overcome by a strong urge to step into the courtyard of the famous institution to look at it one last time. Blocking her path to the college, the guard harshly tells her that anyone who isn't a student is not allowed inside the premises. Walking away with her head held low, the girl sheds tears of frustration, feeling totally useless for not even being allowed a simple visit. Wandering aimlessly through the city streets, the young girl passes by our MC's humble shop and notices a small pot resting on a table. Curious about the green item sitting outside the shop, the girl stops her walk and focuses her eyes on the tiny sapling. Approaching slowly, she wonders why she can feel a hidden magical frequency radiating directly from that little willow sprout. Inside the shop, our shopkeeper is lounging comfortably on his sofa, completely unaware that someone is staring at the pot outside. Thoughtful, he reflects on how the price he set for the sapling has scared away several potential buyers over the last 2 days. Scratching his head, the business owner admits that charging an astounding $3 million for a mere willow sprout sounds like absolute madness to the market. Worried, he fears the rare item will end up spoiling on the shelves, causing a massive financial hit to his business. Glancing toward the glass door, the young man notices the figure of the mysterious girl standing perfectly still, gazing at the little plant pot. Enchanted by the sapling, the young girl mutters to herself about how rare plant-type beasts are and how tough they are to find in shops. Suddenly, a red and gold energy swirls around the girl's hands, and at the exact same time, the mystical plant starts to glow, reacting to her presence. Stepping out of the shop, the seller says warmly to the little plant that nobody seems interested in it. Catching the distracted girl's attention, the sprout begins to glow intensely in reddish hues, leading the amazed girl to wonder if the creature actually understands what he's saying. Walking slowly toward the customer, Lu Yu politely asks if she has taken a real liking to that little willow sprout on the table. Startled by the shopkeeper's sudden appearance, the girl quickly turns around and stammers an apology, saying she was just looking at the little pot. Speaking in a very friendly voice, the owner explains he runs the place and gives her special permission to touch the sprout's leaves. The girl's eyes sparkle with joy at the generous offer, and she asks, surprised, if she is really allowed to touch the valuable magical creature. The moment she reaches out her fingers to gently touch the sapling's leaves, a flurry of glowing sparks of pure energy fills the air. Making physical contact, the girl notes in wonder that the hidden magical resonance from moments ago has become infinitely clearer and stronger. Happy, our MC watches the scene unfold, deducing that the spiritual compatibility between the girl and the willow sprout is off the charts. Smiling confidently, the young man asks if the tiny plant-type creature is trying to send a message directly to her mind. Shocked by the powerful signal, the young girl reveals that the sprout is insistently begging to seal a fusion contract with her soul. Internally, Lu Yu celebrates his correct guess, confirming that the girl is indeed the perfect owner to guide the plant's development. The seller advises her to take the test right away and try to feed the creature with just a single drop of her own blood to seal the contract. Panicked by the suggestion, the girl immediately refuses, arguing that staining the plant with the blood of someone as useless as her would make the pet impossible to sell. Patting his chest, the young man reassures her that, as the absolute owner of the shop, he makes the rules, telling the girl to just give the test a shot. Faced with the shopkeeper's kind and sincere insistence, the girl decides to give in and agrees to try the spiritual fusion process with the sapling. Without a second thought, she brings her index finger to her mouth, gently biting the tip to draw the single drop of blood needed for the magical pact. Next, the girl lets the blood drip onto the plant. At that, the little willow sprout drinks up the drop of blood and begins to glow brilliantly, radiating a powerful, vibrant green energy. Delighted, the girl watches the sprout grow right before her eyes, celebrating the fact that the plant actually developed. Right at that moment, Luyu steps closer, pointing out her deep affinity with the sprout and asking if she would like to buy the pet. However, she turns her face away in embarrassment and timidly confesses she has absolutely no money right now to make the purchase. On top of that, she hasn't even successfully awakened her tamer aptitude, making it completely impossible to officially bond with the pet. Hearing this, our MC assures her that a lack of money is no obstacle and asks if she is absolutely sure she has no talent at all. In response, she just stares back at him with a bewildered expression, completely unable to understand what the young man is hinting at. Suddenly, a drop of blood splatters onto the plant's leaf, causing it to shine with a powerful, glowing crimson aura. Confused by what is happening, she feels a shiver run down her spine, startled by the sudden transformation of the little sprout. With that, a colossal explosion of crimson fire and mystical power engulfs the girl's body in a glowing whirlwind. Stunned, she realizes a mark has appeared on her forehead, signaling the awakening of the rare S-Rank immortal blood talent.